Hello and welcome to Trial TV Live. I am the Squeegee of Justice. Thank you so much for joining us today as we are beginning our weekly recaps of the New Jersey versus Paul Caneiro trial. And we just finished week one. I'm excited to do these recaps and be co-hosting with Clairview. So very excited about that. This week ended, we're this ending of week one, and we have cats. All right. Cats are behind my computer. See, we're starting out perfect already. Cats are behind the screen, knocking my computer out. Really, if it's not the internet, it's cats. All right. Welcome in, everybody. So week one just ended. It was an interesting week. Ended very abruptly, strangely. So we're going to get into that. It was a week full of a lot of twists and turns. And I'm very, very excited to have our co-host join us, Clairview. So let me bring Claire onto the stage. Hello there. Hello there. How are you?
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. Thank
Uh,
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate that you reached out to us, I think a while ago. Was it with, I think it was Lori? Was it Lori Daybell? Or no, Sarah. It was a Sarah Boone. I think you reached
Oh,
out.
yes, we met when you guys we were both covering Sarah Boone. That's when I first discovered your channel and what you
Yes.
guys were doing. Um, and then I may have reached out to you about some other non-true crime topics, I think,
You
like
did.
Black Mirror.
Yes. Yes. And we were trying to connect last July, I think. And I
Mhm,
still want to do that. We're in a Stranger Things vibe right now. We watched the final season. Now we're going back and
mhm.
rewatching all the previous seasons. But yes, Black Mirror. Absolutely. I will absolutely anytime I want to come on and
Yeah,
talk
when
Black
the
Mirror
new
with you.
season comes, you're our first email, or you get to pick with every episode you want to help with the breakdown. Because like you're
Awesome.
one of the names that is left from last season because we closed out season 7 already. But
That's
I
right.
love
That's
that
right.
series. Yeah.
Oh, so do we. So do we. Huge fans of Black Mirror. So, all right. Well, let's get started with Claire Bear from Clairview. Do you want to tell our audience a little bit about who you are, why you are so um, connected or interested, I should say, in Paul Caneiro out of New Jersey?
Okay. Well, I run the channel now called Clairview that started called Avatars Live, which is why I'm using an avatar here. And
Mhm.
I started this as a hobby. I was retired against my will, so to say, for a
Mhm.
disability quite a few years back. And I've always had a passion for legal. I come
Mhm.
from more of a business environment when I was out working full time and that. But my passion was legal and also great discussion. I'm from New Jersey, which is what
Mhm.
connects me so strongly to this case. It's in the courthouse right down the road from
Mhm.
where I am. And the Caneiro family was well known. This particular case took over this area like crazy when it happened.
Mhm.
As you can see by some of the testimony, and some of the things that are coming forth, it's a family annihilation. They're all in business together. Uh it was unheard of. Some of the things that they don't talk about in the trials, which we'll get into, is that these brothers were best friends for years.
Mhm.
For
Mhm.
years. They were
Yeah.
thick as thieves. They were, the yin and yang of each other.
Yeah. It,
So it was shocking. It was just so shocking. So
yeah.
yeah.
It is sad. It's a very sad case, and like you said, we can get into that certainly as we progress through this show and then next week's show. Okay, so let's start with the 30,000 foot overview. What well, where do you want to start with that? Do you want to start with any pre-trial
First,
stuff and lead
I
into? Or you want to start
first
with
let
background
me
or
first I'm going to give you two tidbits of background to begin with, okay?
okay,
Because
sure.
in the trial, as we're watching it, and those that don't know anything about the case, because in all honesty, I'm right here, and this case is tight. Besides
Mm-hmm.
the hearings, no documents, no transcript, nothing. We don't
Mm-hmm.
get to see. There's an indictment document I have on file, from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to actually glean everything from the media and then do deeper research, and go to the courthouse and all. It's tough to get the information. One of the challenges that I follow this so closely, like because of that, because of like, what do you mean I can't know? Like I
Right.
read legal briefs every day. Like, come on. But The charging, he was not charged with everything on the first day. Paul Caneiro was charged the very next day from the fire in his home, only for the arson in his home.
Right.
Okay. It was 8 or 9 days later, around the 29th or the 28th, that they then tied him to the, had enough evidence to tie him to the homicides in the Colts Neck and the fire. He wasn't charged with the fraud and all the other details that make this case so, the motive actually, until the next year, until July of 2019.
Oh, wow.
And that was after the very detailed financial investigation through financial crimes that happened. Now, he was charged with his arson based on the scene discovery at the fire. And we've heard about this from Detective Marino, right? Or Officer Marino, not detective. Daniel Marino, the gas cans, the smudge, wet boot prints going right into where the gas cans are discovered. Okay. Very obvious. I mean, it's hard to say. For me, if law enforcement didn't see that stuff and it didn't pick out to them, I don't want them protecting me. They're just not doing their job. I mean, of course, they're looking at everything. They had evidence right from the start about that part of the charge. I think we'll hear more about that. I was surprised that prosecution didn't go harder on the redirect rather, with Marino after Mastroianni's cross, because of course it's her job to just say law enforcement isn't doing their job. Like they singled him out. They're picking on him because they just want to solve the case.
Right.
And I mean, how did you feel about that, watching that? Where you're like, come on, like that's him doing his job. Like, what are you? Yeah.
Yeah. I see the defense is definitely going with two things, at least two things. First and foremost, what you said was law enforcement isn't doing. They did a shoddy investigation. It's no solo cups, red solo cups, or anything like that, leaf blowers. But but they're definitely trying to throw some shade on that. And then the other thing is Corey. The third brother, the younger brother, that was brought up in openings, and it's been touched upon a couple times now in testimony. So I think those are the two things for me right now that stand out. That's what the defense is going with.
Oh yes, Corey's a big issue because here's the thing: the whole premise, or like we've heard the prosecution put out that Paul set the fire intentionally at his home as part of a cover plan to make it look like the brothers themselves were being targeted by a larger entity. And we're from New Jersey. We'll just take the cat out of the bag and say the M word. Like they wanted to make it look like they were being targeted because they're in business and they're rich. Like this was some kind of connected, mafia, whatever. And they were being targeted.
Right. Sure.
But so, Corey that day, that night, okay, before Keith's demise, Keith had sent an email to Corey and several of the partners saying what's been going on with Paul, saying that's it, I'm done. I'm finally going to separate from Paul. No more business together. I'm cutting off his pay. I'm done. And then letting everybody that has an interest in it know, including his little brother, Corey. Okay. And then when the murder happens, Corey takes his 2 kids and leaves the state to Pennsylvania because he's scared to death something's going to happen to them. His wife is the one that goes to the scene. And I don't know if she was on the scene or she just contacted them immediately and gave them all the information of the email that day. That day, they had the email.
Okay. Now, we heard testimony yesterday that Corey was at Paul's house giving him money that morning at like 6 or 6:30 when first responders.
Right. On his way to Pennsylvania with his kids. Right. Yep.
But that was before they knew about Keith. They didn't know about Keith until 12 or 12:30.
Right. So, that's what I mean. Like he left as soon as he found out about the kids. He left for Pennsylvania.
But they didn't know. But we didn't know about the kids. Nobody knew about the kids. No. Well, theoretically, nobody knew about the kids.
We don't even know that Corey knew about the kids. We just know that Paul's house was on fire. Right. And Corey thought he needed money because, he can't get he can't get anything. Everything's going on. He may have
Right.
asked him for money, whatever.
Right. Right.
There's also the speculation, and these are rumors. Nothing's actually been documented in any court records whatsoever. That is it possible that Paul and Corey did this together?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, there's that. All I
Mm-hmm.
know is that between his wife and himself, they got that financial information against Paul to start the financial, to give motive to Paul
Mm-hmm.
within 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
of finding out about Keith. The wife
Okay.
was there, said where Corey was. He wasn't hiding from the police. Like, he took his kids to his parents' house and he was there. They
Right.
knew exactly where he was. And he
Mm-hmm.
did talk with the police. They just, he did have financial troubles, and he is a beneficiary on the life insurance. And, I wouldn't sit here and say he's innocent and he shouldn't be looked at.
Mm-hmm.
But when they've got the email from Keith staring him in the face, I mean, come on, if
Mm-hmm.
you were the detective, what would you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then going back to Corey, like opening statements, that's where we heard, I think it was opening statements that
Mhm.
Corey lived in Keith's basement, or did that
Yeah,
come out
at
in
times.
testimony?
Keith has been well known. People talk about this case, and some of the
Right.
things I'm going to tell you is just like what people talk about commonly
Sure.
here in New Jersey.
Sure.
Keith
Sure.
was very generous. We kind of heard that from his best friend so far. It kind of gleans to who he was. He
Mm-hmm.
was the more financially well off of all of the brothers. Okay, not
Mm-hmm.
that any of them were poor by any means. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But Keith was generous. Keith, if Corey was having financial troubles or something going on, of course he's gonna take care of him. He had been taking care of Paul's accidental spending of money or overspending of money for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
He's even guilty morally of helping Paul commit fraud against disability by paying his wife instead of him for the services through the company.
Right.
So, there's no innocent, there's no like real, you can't draw the line like, right or wrong here. They were family. He took care of people. They were very well off. He had a home in Greece. You heard that brought up like it was some kind of bad thing. Uh,
Right.
his wife Jennifer's family is from Greece. They're Greek, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
to have a home there and for vacationing and everything, like why not if you can? And there's nothing wrong, like to say something the way that Nestaloni likes to frame things like it's the worst thing ever. Like, and then and Andy Murray did this one actually. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
so he transferred money overseas. He's transferring money out of the country. Yeah, that's where the house is. It's in Greece, and they were having work done, and her father's there getting work done on the house. Like,
Right.
obviously, my problem with the prosecution is they don't make those answers strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
When the defense brings this up, they don't make those answers in retaliation strong enough. Like,
Right.
I think they need to match the energy. Do you know what I mean?
I
Like,
do. Yeah. So, do you think who do you like better on the prosecution side? Was it Miss Wallace and was it Becker? Christopher? Yeah,
yeah,
Decker. I'm sorry,
Christopher Becker.
Christopher Decker. Yeah.
Christopher Decker is absolutely annoying me with his lack of mic skills. Like, I'm ready to
Mm,
and you as a streamer, you get this. He's walking around and the
yeah.
sound's going in and out and in and out. And half
Hmm.
the time we don't get to hear the question. But
Right.
as a prosecutor, he is our head ADA. Like, he is the DA there. Like, he's the
Okay.
head. But
Gotcha.
actually, Nicole Wallace,
Hmm.
completely impressed, completely,
Hmm.
and you could tell when she gets a little feisty, the way
Yeah.
she redirects on redirect.
Hmm.
If Mastalone or Murray has actually annoyed her, like, she lets that witness, and you notice the witnesses appreciate it because they're like, yes,
Hmm.
yes, like, don't, like, they're misinterpreting what I said, or they're misstating something that happened, and they're really happy to get it out, and she just goes right for it, and she's just
Hmm.
like, let's clear this up like right now.
Right.
I think I like her a little bit more than Decker because he's a little bit more rambling in.
Yeah. Well, that gets me to my first note with the openings. So we had Miss Mastalone. Is it Mastalone or Mastalone? How do you say it?
Well, it's Italian. In his jersey, it's Mastalone.
Okay, Mastalone.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so Monica, Miss Mastalone, and Nicole Wallace, they both did the openings.
Hmm.
I thought, and our chat as well thought that both their openings were really solid. Really, I
Hmm.
even have they were stellar. I thought Nicole Wallace's opening, I was like, wow, that was like she laid out the timeline. She gave really great details. She made it really horrific with Sophia and Jesse and how their demise. And then I thought Miss Mastalone, her opening, I thought was pretty passionate. I didn't really have a problem with her opening. So where
I
do you
didn't
stand?
either.
Yeah.
I didn't either. I give Monica Mastalone. She can be annoying, but here in Jersey, we all talk a lot. You'll notice that with me. You're gonna have to say halt or put up a stop sign or something. It's a thing. Her
Yeah.
fashion, like people, my comments. I don't know about you, but the back of my videos are full of like how she dresses and everything. I just want to put
Mhm.
this out there. No, New Jersey is not stuck in an 80s time. Okay, that is her personal style. We're all not walking around like that, I assure
Yeah.
you. Okay, but um,
I
she's
thought her.
passionate. She's passionate. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a thing about no glitter or sequins or lace in
Oh.
court. Sorry, like for me, I was just like, oh come on, Monica, really? Like seriously. But
I
that's
actually
the thing.
I dug that. I like that. I like that outfit. I thought that last outfit she had on Thursday was pretty cool. I even put in chat. I think back in my rock and roll days, I would have worn that.
Yeah, I know, but it's just funny reading the comments sometimes.
Yeah.
But because we don't get personal, and that's not a diss against her or anything. I have great respect for her. No one could
Mhm.
say she's not passionate about defending Paul Caneiro at this point.
That
They
is
took
true.
over. Oh, she took over in 2025. We saw the most hearings, the most motions to try to actually get him out of jail, get a new
Mhm.
venue,
Mhm.
even try to like, okay, you've taken too long on this case, even though it was mostly the defense. They did that in the beginning. Oh, you're
Right.
taking too long on this case. Let's just get rid of it. They
Mhm.
did everything. They did evidentiary hearings. I mean, she had a big hill to climb, and I think she's doing an excellent job with it. She's finding things to go at and
Mhm.
angles to go at with less than a year's time on the case than
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
I don't know if the average person realized the momentous task that was coming in with 6 years worth of happening, stuff that's going on in discovery, and
Mhm.
to be able to drill down to just did you said this? Did you mean that? Like to be able to do that. She must be just breathing, eat, drink, and breathing this case 24/7.
Agreed. I'm sorry. I've got cats doing something
Mhm.
back. Just give me a
No, I get it totally.
so that they're just attacking
I took your notes.
attacking my notes, of course.
Yeah. Um,
Oh,
but I
all
mean,
right.
how did you like her style? It takes a little bit to get used to. Um,
Um, I am okay with her style. I know a lot in our chat are not, but
mhm.
yeah, I think I'm okay with her style. I don't. It's not bothering me. I think she is. Well, I guess okay. So if that's the pro, meaning I don't mind her style. The con would be I feel like she does take everything that the prosecution does on direct, and she literally just goes over everything. Not every defense lawyer does that. Some do, some don't. We've seen
Mhm.
some cases where they're just they'll just zone in on one thing, but she literally just goes through everything that was
Mhm.
answered, asked, and answered on direct. So I can understand our chat gets a little, come on, just repeat, repeat, repeat.
Well, the paper
You know,
shuffling for one. I mean, as a streamer, too, this is really hard to deal with. We can't get rid
yeah,
of it when she's doing it without
right.
like, a lot of extra work. It's really
Yeah.
been
There
getting
are at
to.
there are at times she seems a little disorganized.
Yep.
I'll agree to that. There's definitely times where she seems
I
disorganized,
think
but
they both do. Her and Andy Murray
yeah.
have portrayed themselves to the judge. Let's just
Hmm.
look at from the judge's point of view. No one could really say that Judge Lemoux is a little bit pissed right now
Oh
about
yeah.
stuff that's going on.
Hmm.
But based on what's been going on, you can also see how fair, and he's going to do everything by the law that he is. Because he, first of all, he doesn't like their style. He doesn't like throwing things out there without evidence or something to back it up. You're not allowed to just say something, which is nice, because Judge Lamo is not going to let the courtroom turn into a theater. And you know what I'm talking about. We both watched another trial where it was just a circus. It was theater. It was like, you know, were they attorneys or actors? I don't know. You know, it was like watching a drama, you know. But he's not going to let that happen in his courtroom. It's all about the law, you know.
Absolutely.
But she does annoy him, because when he says stop, she don't stop. Like she's so determined to get whatever it is her point. She's got like this bullet list on her desk. And she's going to hit those bullets. And if he tries to stop her from any of those bullets, she's going to go around and around in a circle until she gets that point across. And she don't care if he says stop. She don't care. She just keeps going. I really think we're going to see a sanction before March 20th on one of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah. People were saying, can she be found in contempt? I'm like, well, it takes a lot, I think, to find a lawyer in contempt.
It does. This is only day 4. And on one incident alone, he told her to stop it like 3 times in a row. And then he's already pulled the attorneys into chambers. That's like going to the principal's office.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me see how many sidebars I have. I know I don't have all of them. I have 19 sidebars, and I know I've missed at least 3 or 4. Yeah.
Right?
So,
you know, how many of those are for the defense?
Probably 18. Probably 8.
I would say 2/3 at least. Yeah, and I would put both of them on Mastodon.
Yeah. And to be fair, the judge has called his fair share. He's probably called about 4 or 5 sidebars.
Well, he is. He's really annoyed at the prosecution for not saying anything when there's obvious law. Like, you know, obvious law there. They're irrelevancy, scope. I mean, scope is a big one, because they did that a lot in the hearings, on what experts would talk about and what could be addressed and what couldn't. So scope is a big issue with Judge Lamo. You hear him keep mentioning it, like outside of the scope. When a judge has to object himself to what one side or the other is doing, like, he's not happy with anybody.
No. And he's twice now, I don't know if you caught this, twice he's reprimanded Mastalone for putting words in the witness's mouth.
She did and she didn't, right?
She did.
Let's just take the last episode. She said they wanted to go put on their clothes. And the key thing was, like, he said new clothes in the thing. And she's saying, she just extrapolated on. She said, you know, took the statement and went, they wanted to go home and change and put on their own clothes. And that's when Lamo's like, wait a minute, don't put words in his mouth. Because what she is she's like taking the statement and she's making it bigger from the person. She's interpreting for the person who's not there, meaning the daughter. One of the Caneiro daughters, I think it was Katie, I'm not sure. Caitlin. She's talking for her. And that's what he's really mad about, is like, oh no, you're not sneaking in testimony from the Caneiro family when they refuse to call, like when they refuse to meet with prosecutor's office, or they haven't been part of this. There's no affidavits on file, nothing. You know, and the only reason that's coming in is because she didn't memorialize it. She didn't document the call, so she didn't have to report it to prosecution. And, you know, they are on the state's witness list, and that's standard, you know, because they did have to enter the home after he was arrested to get the safe and everything. They served subpoenas on them for statements, because after the first day, they didn't want to give another statement. You know,
that was a big deal. That was a big deal yesterday. That was at the end of the day, right? I think that was towards the end of the day with the whole. It was
towards the end of the day, but it actually brings us to the day of the incident. And they're sitting in the police station because they've been brought there after their own home was on fire. And that's when they discover that the other home is on fire in Colts Neck, and they discover bodies. So how do you feel about that? Because I think law enforcement had every right to keep them there, and I would keep them there for their protection at first anyway.
Yeah, that's what he said. I'm just reviewing. It was who was it? It was it Zerillo? Richard
Christopher
Zerillo?
Brady,
Oh,
Lieutenant
Chris.
Christopher Brady.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Brady.
Okay. Yeah. Because then at the end of the day, they switched over to Keith's house, so they were still on Paul's house. You're right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It was
And so
Brady.
he became involved in both investigations. He's one of the key
Hmm.
players that's in both in both investigations. Now,
Hmm.
by the time they brought the Caneiro family to the police station or asked them to go to the police station, would you agree they already suspect Paul has set the fire or somebody in the family has set the fire?
I think so. I think as soon as they got there, they it was suspicious because
Mhm.
the meter had blue flames around it, so that's indicative of a gas fire. You see
Mhm.
the gas can with next to the garage with the burnt nozzle.
Right?
Um,
The wet footprints going into the garage where gas was stored, where there was plenty of
right,
gas and things stored. And
right.
and here's the thing, uh, we're looking at that and we're lay people, right? And we're
Hmm.
suspicious.
Hmm.
Somebody related to that house set that house on fire. Okay,
Hmm.
like somebody.
Yeah.
Of course, you've got, I don't want to be, appear to be, misogynistic or anything, but of course you're going to look at him
Hmm.
first. I think so. The guy. All
Hmm.
right. Um, but is it wrong to bring the whole family in? No, the police. And do they have to disclose why they're there? That's the one thing about police investigation.
Hmm.
Like they are allowed to misdirect you
Hmm. Yep.
legally.
They
They have
are.
no obligation to say, listen, I
Hmm.
think you burnt your house down. So sit here and tell me about it. That's not
Hmm.
how it goes.
Hmm.
Okay. It's not open book. Listen, we found a gas can. So we want to know whether we think you did it. So tell me why you didn't. Like, it doesn't go
Hmm.
like that. Right.
Right.
It does
Yeah.
not go like that.
We've seen enough trials where they say straight out, "Are you allowed to lie to the witness or to the defendant?" And they're
Yep.
like, "Yeah, we are." And
Yep.
so yeah, they are under no obligation to tell to do whatever it is
Because
that they're doing.
falls under the blanket of extracting the truth and getting information that you would not always, put forward.
Right.
They're allowed to use these means. I mean, I have issues with some of the interrogation methods that are used. We've seen plenty of false confessions. Like I have an issue with false confession. I don't know how you
Hmm.
feel about that, but you keep somebody in there for like 24 hours and you just hammer at them and hammer at them with these techniques until they like
Hmm.
break down, and there's a whole handbook on how to psychologically do that to them. I'm
Right.
really not for any of that.
Yeah.
But
No.
we've seen people get convicted on just the confession. I just did a
Hmm.
video on the yogurt murders, where those four men,
Oh yeah.
they got confessions from four people, and two
Right.
of them, their lives were ruined, and it wasn't them.
Hmm.
Advanced DNA testing, which is another thing about this case that completely drew me in,
Hmm.
brand new technology out of New Zealand with Streamix and that whole big hearing on using the advanced DNA testing for probabilistic rather,
Right.
uh, genome matching,
Hmm.
which they're saying blood on the genes that they found at Paul Caneiro's home matches
Hmm.
both Sophie, Paul, and the brother, the younger brother Jesse.
Jesse. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are minuscule little dots, and they've never before been able to take a drop of blood and match it to two different
Hmm.
people,
Hmm.
okay, because of mixing, and combining, and now they can.
Right. I have a question for you regarding that. The trial judge threw that out, but it went to the New Jersey Supreme Court, and they're the ones that said no, they are allowed to bring that in.
Yeah,
Who was the trial judge? Was it Lemieux or was it somebody else?
it was Lemieux.
It
Lemieux
was
threw it out because his
okay.
scope was, okay, he focused on the fire that was at the garage. He
Hmm.
thought the garage itself wasn't really in danger, okay?
Hmm.
Because when they
Right.
got there, the start of the fire with the smudge on the car and all, there was nothing going on. Okay, there was nothing really going on. That was under control. And he
Right.
said the fire was under control, but he's forgetting the fact that the police officers have just dealt with the fire. They're gathering information. There's water everywhere.
Hmm.
Okay, they don't know exactly how that father stated. They haven't cleared the scene yet.
Hmm.
So it did fall under those extra circumstances. And also, it's a very explicit thing, and this has to do with New Jersey law and everything like that. That garage is part of the house. Would you agree, or the property? Like if
Oh,
you got
yeah.
it for the cars and the property, like to actually say, well, no, you didn't have it specifically for inside the garage to go get that information. That was some legal maneuvering like crazy. But the
Right.
law did go on their side a little bit. There has to be, if it's not mentioned specifically like that, there had to be extreme circumstances, so to speak. Now it went to the appellate court. I'm sorry about that. I have to lower this.
That's okay.
It went to the appellate court first, and they held it up.
Okay.
They agreed with Judge Lameau. Okay, like if based on how things were progressing, they had time to get an extra warrant. More further information. The prosecution took the extraordinary step of appealing it. That doesn't normally happen after it goes to appellate, and they held it up. I mean, you're challenging the judge. You're saying you don't know what you're talking. If you were the district attorney, would you want to challenge the head judge of your district that you have to see every day? I don't think so, because he's got to deal with it in court. So they felt very strongly that under the circumstances, they did everything that they could to follow the law. So they took it to the Supreme Court of New Jersey, and they actually looked at the whole picture, the whole scene. Judge Lameau was not, they actually backed him up in the actual the decision. They said he really didn't, his only mistake was narrowing his decision to the condition around the garage, saying it was far enough away from the house and everything. He's forgetting about the water, the smoke. He's forgetting about the loss of electrical power. He's forgetting, like, he's not adding everything in. He's not adding everything in that's going on the whole site. When they took the whole picture into consideration, that's when they decided to turn it over. And I'm very pleased about that, because that piece of evidence is kind of like the Murdaugh trial, which canceled an alibi and put the murderer at the scene undeniably within seconds of it happening. Okay, that DVR shows Paul Caneiro, against statements he gave to the police prior, turning the system off himself minutes before his house goes on fire.
Right.
When he's supposed to be soundly sleeping in bed under medication and doesn't know what's going on. But he's roaming his property. Not only his property, it's not like he's in the kitchen pushing a button. He goes out of his house into his garage to turn off manually the system.
All right. Now I'm confusing myself, because there were two things, and you know this case better than I do. Okay, so there was the DVR in the garage that Lemieux, I thought he ruled that was, I guess, illegally seized. Right? Is that the one that went to the Supreme Court? And did the DNA? So there's a DNA and there's a DVR, right?
The DNA is a separate a Dauber-like hearing to see if it's admissible, because StreamX was not a recognized technology in New Jersey. It's never been presented in court. We see this going all over the country right now. StreamX was the company from New Zealand that they're using here in New Jersey for these probabilistic genome type testing. We also saw it in the Kohlberg trial. They had DNA testing there that was brand new that they wanted to use, going and using family DNA that's publicly available to actually narrow down your search for somebody to who they're related to. That was interesting. And then also in Staten Island with Rex Harriman with the Lisk trial, that was also a DNA, different type of DNA, but they have to do is get the lab and the procedure certified in the state. It has to pass expert and qualifying factors to be used as evidence in the state. They've never used the type of DNA testing, one of the types of DNA testing that they're using in this trial for Caneiro in New Jersey at all, ever. So it had to go through a special hearing.
Okay, so that didn't go to the Supreme Court. It was the DVR that Lemieux suppressed or agreed with the defense, and then the state challenged it. So that's the thing.
It was I think it was 2 or 3 week hearing for the DNA evidence here in New Jersey for the Caneiro case, and that's why you see the name Christopher Gordon listed as one of the public defenders, but you
Mm-hmm.
don't see him in court. He was the lead because he's in the forensic department
Mm-hmm.
of the public defender's office, and he was the expert, the technician who knew all the science to
Mm-hmm.
try to get this evidence kicked out.
Mm-hmm.
And he really went at them. But
Mm-hmm.
Streamex did the wisest thing and sent the founder of the company, the head scientist of the National Institute of Technology in New Zealand,
Mm-hmm.
to America to sit in that trial and talk
Wow.
about why this is important technology. And I
Wow.
think that's what got it certified, I think, to
Right.
speak to the people that actually use it and create it on a regular basis around the world, and
Mm-hmm.
find out how people are using it and why it is so good. It really kind of turned the tables on them.
Mm-hmm. We did watch we did a deep dive pre-trial prep, and we showed a couple, or at least one with Godin. Is that how you say his name?
Christopher Godin. He's
Yeah,
the
Godin.
curly haired guy,
Yep.
like the dark,
Yep.
big, massive, dark curly hair.
Yep. Yeah. So I thought he would be in the regular trial, but he is not. He was just
Did you not think he was a bit of a barracuda? He'd be excellent, wouldn't he? Can you imagine him in Mastalone up there? Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I liked him. Yeah, I thought he was pretty cool.
Yeah, he's tough. He's tough.
Yeah. All right, so cool. All right, so let me just kind of go through some of my notes here. We kind of talked about openings. What do you think about Judge Lemieux and his his sense of humor? We'll just go off topic just for a little bit. What do you think about how he handles the courtroom?
He's impressing me. He really is. I mean, I always knew he had an excellent record because I always researched the judges. Like for me, where I come from watching these true crime, it's not the story, it's not this and that. It's about the precedent, the new technology, and how the law changes. To me, it's the law. So the judges for me are like the key figure. I truly believe a judge on a case can make or break it on how things get in, what evidence, how the demeanor of the courtroom, and how things can proceed, because the judge is also the protector of the jury.
Yeah.
And, if I have to say one thing, I'd have to say that Judge Lemieux has it in spades. He's got all that. He's got a wonderful track record. His use of the law in keeping things on track for both sides and his protection of the jury to make sure that they understand. His detail for both sides, making them re-explain something or asking questions himself to make sure the jury understands what's going on. We don't see enough of that. We don't.
No.
Okay. And probably because it's a two-sided coin. You don't want a judge to interfere with the proceedings either, or the case and how it gets presented. It's really up to the attorneys to do that, or to make sure that, try to put a focus on one part or the other of any type of case, because that actually is going to open it up for appeal. I mean, I would be surprised if this doesn't immediately get appealed one way or the other.
Yeah, I think that's probably kind of standard, right? Especially such a high-profile trial, and Paul clearly feels
life in prison on as the stake. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not death penalty where there's an automatic appeal, but we don't have the death penalty. But I mean, he's looking at 4 life sentences plus 112 years in the extra charges if he was guilty of everything. I mean,
Aaron just sent me a text. It was Judge Lisa Thornton died unexpectedly at age of 59, and then that's where Mark Lemieux was assigned. So
he was assigned. Yes, because he's the head. She was in the beginning. She was, and there was a redistricting, and that there was some redistricting that went on, and that's how Monica Mastalone also ended up as the public defender, because they had something in the public defender's office. When something like that happens, everybody gets moved around. So somebody got moved out of the public defender's office, and then all the cases got reassigned.
Okay.
And that's how she ended up with the case in February.
Right. We took a poll in our chat, like how you think Judge Lemieux is conducting the court. Like is he interjecting himself too much? Is he you saw that, right? Is he like how is he conducting his court? And I think the majority of our chat was he's fair, but he's running his court appropriately, and I think most people thought, the way I think is that I really appreciate a judge that appreciates the jury first and foremost. He's
Mhm.
protecting them, and if he has a question, he's always like, "Hey, wait a minute! I don't think the jury understands that because I don't understand that. So I'm going to make sure that my jury understands this." So then he asks these
Mhm.
questions. So what do you
Yeah,
think about that?
um, I think that that's true because first of all, it is his courtroom. Every
Hmm.
judge approaches it this way. They all have their different rules. They all have their different things that need to be done and how they like things done. And they let the attorneys know about it ahead of time,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
there's no surprises there. But he reminds me, I mean, I think you're spot on the way he protects the jury because he reminds me of another judge who I was very fond of in the Murdaugh trial, Judge
Mm.
Newman.
Hmm.
Judge
Hmm.
Newman was no nonsense. He was
Hmm.
very quiet. He didn't interject as much, but when it came to the law, he called his own hearings on stuff. It's like, no, no, no. We're gonna have to go over this A to Z because I'm not gonna have any of that. Very
Hmm.
protective of the juries. Remember the stretch breaks? Judge
Hmm.
Lameau just did that. He said, "That's it. Everybody get up." Or I
Hmm.
see your eye. I see how you're looking there, jury. We're breaking early. I
Yeah, when you
see
have
you.
heads
I
are
see
nodding,
you.
eyes are eyes are
I see
drooping.
what's going on. And he also fought for them to have notebooks.
Yes,
He said, "This
yep, we,
trial's go until March 20th. They can have notebooks, and this is how we're gonna do it. They can't
hmm,
remove them. We're gonna do all the extra work. We're gonna label them by each juror. They'll be put on their
hmm,
seats and gathered every day. We'll do the checks ourselves with the court clerk and everything like that. But
hmm,
this not otherwise, kind of making a joke. Otherwise, who knows where we're gonna get out of here at the end because they're gonna ask for rereads and they're gonna ask for all of this. It will
hmm,
eliminate some of that trying to go back 8 weeks and figure out what happened."
hmm,
And so I give him a lot of credit for that. He really wants to make sure the jury can make the best decision, based on what they know and have
hmm.
all the information they need without tying the court up for another. Can you imagine being in deliberations for like if you've got a trial that goes on for 8 to 10 weeks and you're
Hmm.
in deliberations for 4 weeks because they want to re-go over all the evidence from the beginning because they can't remember what happened.
Hmm.
I mean, that would be crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we've seen juries deliberate. I think the Carlos Dominguez trial last year, which ended up being a hung jury, they found him not guilty on two charges and hung on the third. Yeah, they deliberated for like 3 weeks. I think it was like 18 days over 3 or 4 weeks. So we
That
we
is
have seen that
crazy.
before. Yeah,
That
yeah, we've seen that
yeah.
before.
I
Um,
wouldn't wanna be on that jury. Like, I'd
oof,
be just like,
yeah.
yeah. They took their
Um,
job seriously, obviously, because,
they did. They did. They did. I want to get into some little details here. So day two brought up the name Yacel Restrepo, and we
Uh-huh.
were like, "Who is Yacel Restrepo?" So
In a hearing in a
what's your
hearing,
perspective?
a
Yeah.
pretrial hearing, when
Hmm.
they first were going over the remember when they were going over scope? I keep mentioning scope. So the scope hearings that finally came to a head in December sometime. One
Hmm.
of those hearings in 2025, it came up when they were talking about how far will they go with the financial information. Okay.
Right.
Well, so
Right.
they focused on 17 and 18, 2017 and 2018, what they're going to bring in. And there were
Hmm.
payments in there for another vehicle in another apartment in Ocean Township. And that
Hmm.
person who owns them is that person you're talking about.
Hmm.
Although there's nothing actually saying that that's his uh a there's no tie as a relative or anything, and I don't
Hmm.
want to say that like that's his girlfriend, but that's what the rumor is. This was an
Right.
extra thing outside his marriage, that's where a lot of the extra expenses were coming from and started this snowball of where he couldn't start paying back the money.
Right.
I
Right.
mm,
So I'm looking at my notes. So it was $2,673 for a Woodshire apartment in 2017,
mhm.
and then there was
The
some
Audi
what's that?
the Audi, the
Yeah,
car.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
then, yeah, the VW Audi was nine thousand
Mhm,
nine hundred twenty. But then there's Tiffany's. He had purchases of Tiffany's, 17,000 in 2017 and 2,600 in 2018. Um,
mhm.
and then I also have a note saying he spoke to the witness. So that
That
was.
was where the hindered that's where the other charges and stuff that eventually they didn't actually add that as another supersede. They had a superseding indictment in I think it was July of 2019 where they put all the financial crimes in there and the
Mhm,
fraud, but
mhm,
they didn't. they did say that he is actually guilty of talking to a witness and hindering apprehension, all that. They decided to go forward with a lot of that. So it was in that filing, in that superseded amendment there.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So well, what do you think? Do you think we'll hear from Yisel Restrepo? Yes or no?
I wish I could answer that, but I don't have the state's witness list, and I'm not really happy
Um,
about it, Chris. I don't know about you, but I'm not happy about not knowing who's coming, because I can't tell you who I'm looking forward to them talking to. I would say if she's on that list, that's one of them.
mhm.
And the other one is, I think that they should actually put if the defense is going to bring Paul Caneiro's family into it, like the police did something to them and mistreated them. I
Mhm.
want to see them on the stand as hostile witnesses for the state.
Yeah.
I want to give Christopher Decker and Nicole Wallace a chance to defend law enforcement officers on that one,
Mhm. Yeah.
because
Agreed.
you can't just throw that stuff. They literally accused Lieutenant Brady of holding information about their family over their kids to get a
Mhm.
statement. And I
Yeah.
don't think that happened. I think this is throwing spaghetti at the wall and
Mhm.
hoping it sticks.
Yeah.
And I don't really think that Mastalone is making it up. I think the family is saying that to her, but the way, I mean, shady is shady. I would
Mhm.
expect anything from Dame, Paul Caneiro, with all the money that he makes with all these business, still felt like he was entitled to take from his own family. He still felt like and I say that even though he's not been concerned, he's not guilty yet. I know he's
Mhm.
innocent in court, but there's no way that you can look at that financial documents and see that he actually altered. He's the only one with access to the account. He's the only
Mhm.
one providing the bank statements. There's no doubt in anybody's mind, right? Like, nobody's going to come at me and say, Claire, you can't say that, right? Because yes,
Yeah.
I can. Yes, I
Yeah.
can. Because, sorry, no one else had access. Not even Keith
Mhm.
could get into that bank account. It was set up for a specific purpose, and only the trustee could do it. Paul is the
Right.
trustee. Okay. Now you could make a conspiracy. If you put on a tinfoil hat, you could say somebody went into Paul's brain, took the password out, hacked into his system, went in there, and they did it all. And they did it all for 2 months, even though Paul was the one spending the money and it only went to his account.
Mhm.
32 transfers only went to Paul's personal account.
Right.
Okay. So
Yeah.
shady is shady. This is also a guy who was, even with the access to all the money, even though they're well off and everything, he lives in a really nice house. He's got the ability, he's got 2 businesses, going. He could start other businesses, right?
Mhm.
But he defrauds disability. His wife accepts payment in her name
Mhm.
for him, knowing she's
Right.
not doing any of the work. She's helping him. So that's why I say shady is as shady is. Am I going to believe anything that the wife says defending her husband on the stand when they're already guilty of fraud? I think she'd say anything
Right.
to
I
get him out of this.
And then isn't there a clause where you can't testify against your spouse?
Yeah,
I thought
isn't that convenient that she's not the one saying it? It's the older daughter now.
right, right, right.
You see, like,
Yeah.
if we're gonna talk shady and conspiracy, like that's where it is. Like,
Right.
that's what makes me think it didn't happen. How
Mm,
convenient is that?
right. Yeah, good point. Good point. Um I'm trying to find my notes of like his okay, so I think it was like I don't want to misspeak. I think he went from like his 2017 salary to 2018 salary, and his whole disability was much
Well,
higher in 2017 than went down to 2018. So I'm trying to find my notes specifically. Do you have the numbers, or do you want me to?
his salary, like, because of the disability was getting taken back, something happened with the original disability, not the
Mhm,
federal one, like Social Security disability, not that one, but the one through the
mhm,
private company. It was either Unum or the other one, Sun, what it, like, the first one. They
mhm,
were they changed the payment amounts. And the reason, it was very well explained by Debbie Bessender. The reason was the lump sum. When you go on disability, usually you get a lump sum in the beginning. So that was the difference there, you
right.
know. And she's not saying that his disability, like, and all was going away. That didn't happen until after he was charged in 2019. Like, that's a whole nother separate thing, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that he'll be facing ramifications for.
Okay.
But you know, the amounts were different. Well, not that different. Like his
Mm-hmm.
salary, the salary was different because remember, Massoloni brought this up herself, that there's years of history of Paul taking money from the businesses and having to pay it back.
Right.
Paul has had sticky fingers all along, and Keith knew this, and he was always paying it back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that kind of heightens why Keith is so upset in April when he finds out like his own life insurance isn't being paid. He trusts his brother. They're thick as thieves. I told you the friendship was there. They did everything together. They were at every family party together, like ever since, you know, high school, whatever. They were very, very good friends. Even Keith's best friend, Ben, said, I know Paul. I didn't like know him, like he wasn't my friend, but he was at every family party. Like we occasionally did things together because he and Keith did so much together. They vacationed together. They went everywhere together, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so when it's family like that, would you agree? You know that you know what they're good, you know the good parts of them, you know the bad parts of them, you know, and you kind of accept them for who they are, and you kind of build a relationship around
Yeah.
that, you know. And so he knew money was coming in and out, and so does so does Debbie Bessinger, and so does the prosecution, and so does the defense now, right?
Yeah.
They want to use it to prove that he was gonna pay it back. So the prosecution had to prove the snowball effect, that things changed in 2017. Yes, they did. Girlfriend, Tiffany's,
Yep.
extra car, extra expenses. You know,
Mhm.
we're not at the regular $200,000 a year expenses and everything's being taken care of. And now we've got negative bank accounts. We've got overspending. It's $400,000 in expenses alone for 2017. Went down a little bit in 2018 to $100,000, but that was like, you know, due to things getting paid off and this, that, and the other thing. But
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
they did a nice job proving that there wasn't enough money coming in. And
Mhm.
yet the amounts coming in, I don't know about you, Chris, but I'm sitting there going, like, I could live 3 lives on this money coming in. Like, why is this man like this is crazy?
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned 32 transfers. So in 2 years, 32 transfers. So 16 per year. That's more than one per month. That's how much he was transferring out of the trust
In and out,
fund.
in and out, in and
Yeah.
out. And you know,
Yeah.
and I think that the witness, Debbie Bessinger, did a good job of explaining, listen, I gave him credit for everything he paid back. Like, look, if he took 7 and paid back 5, it's here. I
Mhm.
do see him putting it in. I
Right.
said, but there came a point after April in 2018 where he
Mhm.
stopped putting money in.
Yep.
And that is when things are so desperate for Paul Caneiro at this point financially that he
Mhm.
no longer is trying to keep up the insurance payments. He's actually altering the transfers
Mhm.
to say
Yeah.
that they're going to the life insurance instead of to him.
Mhm. That actually brings up one of the questions I had of how does Paul make it look like he's paying Canada Life when he's paying himself via electronic transfers?
I've seen this in court cases before.
Yeah.
If you take first of all, it's the two-sided coin of electronic statements and being able to
Mhm.
get into your bank account and pull the statement that they would print for you, right?
Mhm.
There's 2 ways he could have done it. If he's very tech-minded, and well, I don't know how tech-minded he is, but his brother owns owns a tech company 90%, Keith Caneiro, and he
Right.
was very tech-minded in securities and all of that. But actually, it's very simple to pull it into anything like, say, it's a more sophisticated program, and I don't know the name of it, but you could pull it into something like a PDF and alter
Mhm.
it and
Mhm.
just make it look like it. There'll be telltale signs. Banking, TD, you know, all of these banks put things in there that make it like they use a different zero than you can normally find easily to
Mhm.
use, right? So the decimal place will be off, the zeros will be off, but he never changed the amounts. He just changed the payee, which made
Right.
it less noticeable. okay? And he has the information from prior years. He knows he knows how it's going to appear. He just takes like a 2016 statement, looks at the authorization, looks how they listed their name, looks how they list the routing, and he just copy and pastes it over. Now, you got to say, like, why didn't the accountant catch that? Like, to me, why didn't bells go off when all of a sudden he used to go in monthly and the statement would be right there? But starting at the beginning of the year, he couldn't get bank statements. They weren't there anymore.
Right.
They weren't there anymore.
Right. We were okay. People in chat were saying if it's a electronic, these cats are going to be the death of me yet. They're like all around my computer right now. So if we go down, please know it's a cat. Chat was saying that when you do an electronic transfer, that you can put in who the person it's going to. Like you can transfer it to wherever you want to, but you can. It's almost like a memo where you can say, "I'm transferring it to Canada Life," but it's actually going to your account.
Yes,
So
you can do that, except for on the statements, it actually says Canada Life, and it actually looks like a real transmittal. So he actually took it a step far. I understand what they're saying because you can, but if you looked at the statements side by side, it actually puts an account number and everything else, and he actually altered that information to not show, and she actually tracked it to like where it actually went. But they're absolutely correct. It does give you the memo field, and that does show up.
Yeah,
that does actually show up on the transmittal too. And it wouldn't say his name. Like you could say that it's like what you do is you set up the payee. This is what I think this is what they're talking about. You set up the payee as Canada Life, right? But then you put it for the transfer to your account. So the only information would be the account number. And they're absolutely correct. That's the easiest way to do it. And that is how Debbie Bassinger, based on the account number of where the money went to, not what it says on it, actually how she tracked the money.
Right.
I think whoever said that in the chat, is that what you mean? Like all they did is alter where the ending deposit went, the bank account it went into.
Yeah. It was. They were saying it's actually easy to do because I thought like what you were saying that you had to dump it into some kind of program and alter it, but they were saying
I've seen it done both ways. I would think that the way that they're talking about is probably the way that Paul did it, because to me, if he had to copy and paste it all, I mean, there is like he didn't give the statements right away, so he had plenty of time to do it. But I think he's always looking for the quick answer, the easy way out. Shady is again going on the shadiness of what I think is going on here. I think he'd use the easiest route, and that would be to set up himself as the payee, but call himself the life insurance company.
Yeah, that if that's possible, and it seems like it is, that seems to be, to me, that would be a lot easier versus using some program to,
exactly,
cut
because
and
he did it
paste and all
so
that.
often. He's got to be able to push a button, especially when he's like negative $700 and he's got to make a deposit right away. Like he needs a quick answer, right? Like
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh, he had so many times when they were going through his bank statements. There were so many times where he's got thousands of dollars coming and going, and then he's always like in the arrears, thousands of dollars or $500 or this. It's not like, I've been overdrafted here or there. It's like, maybe a couple bucks here or there.
Hey,
I've never been $1,000 overdrafted. I'm like, dude, what are you doing?
Life, right? It happens to all of us, regardless. There's timing issues, there's this and that, but we didn't have all of this money to deal with. Like, I just can't imagine. Like, to me, it's just, it's a very, very sad story. A very, very sad story, because it just didn't have to be this way.
No, it didn't.
I don't think that the prosecution pressed enough. Well, they did actually. Nicole Wallace has been very good at putting forth how Keith Caneiro's life was changing that year in 2018. His main source of income, the tech company, was losing its major client. Okay.
Yes.
He's going to sell it, or he's just looking for something to do. He decided he doesn't want to run businesses anymore. And, and I can understand dealing with a brother who you have to wonder, like, when is the money coming in and what is he doing with it? Like, and all of this. I can understand just dealing with everybody else's problems with money. He just wanted to secure his family. He
Mm-hmm.
wanted to work a regular job for a while. He's going to sell the other business that he has
Mm-hmm.
with his brother. You
Mm-hmm.
saw the negotiations going back and forth with that. Paul doesn't
Mm-hmm.
want it sold. That's a source of income for him,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it was the
And
Doris Duke
you know,
Foundation that they had. I thought it was Citibank. I guess they had a contract with Citibank as well, but the big one was the Doris Duke
was the
Foundation.
Doris Duke. It was 90% of the income for that
Mm-hmm.
company.
Yeah.
That's a big thing to try to deal with. And
Yep.
Keith was on it that whole year. He knew this was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Mm-hmm.
he's taking classes, he's talking to his friend, he's looking for jobs. The
Mm-hmm.
accountant, his friend, so many people are helping him look. He's got his resume out there. He was
Mm-hmm.
making moves. Okay. So
Yep.
it's not like this just happened overnight to Paul Caneiro.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
And Paul was the older one too, right? Paul's the
Right.
oldest. Keith was the
Mhm,
middle, and then Corey's the youngest. So
mhm,
Keith was like, "All right, I want to go work in corporate America or wherever. I just want to get a job.
mhm.
I want to get out of being a business owner." And maybe Paul, maybe he's like looking at his age. He's like, "Well, I can't. I'm not that flexible, or who's going to hire me? That kind of
Yeah, well, if
maybe
you
that was
don't
going
own
through
your
his
own business, you can't even work under all these disability plans. He couldn't go out and get
right,
a job and keep his disability. I mean,
right,
and the pest control company was paying him a salary
yeah,
through his wife that, that was all going to disappear. And here's the other thing. The reason he's like pushing so hard not to sell Echo Star
mm-hmm,
is because, most people wanting to buy a company want to audit the books.
mm-hmm.
What happens if they ask, "What does Susan Caneiro do for the money, and how come she's making all this money? What does she do?"
Right, right. All right. I finally found what I've been looking for like the last 10 minutes. All right. So his disability from 2017 to 2018 went from
Mhm,
141,000 to 29,000. So
mhm.
140, say 140 minus 30. So he lost like $110,000 in one
Yep.
year. I mean,
That's
think
because
of just put
one
that
of
in.
them stopped paying. Yeah,
Yeah, just put that
yeah.
in context. Like you were saying, I could live, on $100,000 very, very comfortably for a year. So that's
Mhm.
just his disability. Then he was getting paid monthly $1,700 to $2,500. So okay, so his payroll gross from actually went up from 2017 to 2018 was 108,000 to 117,000. So it actually went up. His payroll actually went up. That was gross. Then he had a private plan, $104,000 from disability for private. Then he
Mhm.
had Sun Life disability went from 60,000 to 9,000.
That's
So
the
in
one with the biggest change. Now, with these private disability companies, depending on how long it was, like I don't know the history of it, but it's not unusual that you reach the end of payment after term. Some of them are term,
mhm,
like 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Or some
right.
of them are max, just like in New Jersey, we have like, limited like short-term disability, and it
Mhm,
doesn't matter what you made a year, like they got a cap on it of like say 27,000. That's it. That's the cap. It's all you can get, no matter how many weeks you're out, whatever
mhm,
the disorder is like. So if you reach that cap, so if there's a cap on it, those are questions that the insurance broker could have been asked when he was on the stand, Mr. Artigas.
mhm,
Uh, but yeah, I don't know. But now that you put that in my head, that's
mhm.
something I don't know, and I'm going to find out. And we meet next Friday. I'm going to see if I have any more answers for you because
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
curious now. Because I don't think at that point the fraud of disability was known. Like I don't
Mhm.
think there was any charges or anything against him at that time.
Which time? At what time?
When the disability amounts changed, I don't
Oh,
think they
okay.
changed because like they were getting yanked because
In
of what.
2017 to 2018, you mean?
Yeah, there's got to
Okay.
be another reason.
Right.
It probably has to do with the policy delineation. You know what I mean? Like it's got to
Yeah.
do with something in there.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And we know that he has a limp, and we heard he was in a car accident. Was that
It
is that
was in
okay?
2012, I believe, like, yeah, or 2002 or 2012. I'll have to double check that. It
Okay.
was really bad, and he was
Okay.
disabled, okay?
Okay.
He did qualify, but what he
Hmm.
didn't qualify for was defrauding the system. I mean,
Hmm. Right.
he qualified based on the injuries, and he had private contracts that were able to be put into effect.
Mm-hmm.
Um the problem is the way he was working for the companies in getting paid.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Undeclared income.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I know some of us in chat were asking this question. The IRS, is the IRS? Do you think they're going to get involved? Have they been involved? What are you hearing, or what do you think?
Because of this, the life insurance policy, we're not addressing the $3 million,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Yep.
was split between Corey and Paul because the rest of the family has been annihilated.
Right.
And I would say when they get around to it, they probably will.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But I don't know if there'll be anything there. I don't
Right.
think Paul, because he's been arrested for the murders, he can't benefit from that life insurance policy. Okay.
Right.
There is a separate civil lawsuit going on that
Mm-hmm.
Jennifer's family has initiated for the
Mm-hmm.
Children's Trust
Mm-hmm.
against Corey and Paul. They're both named.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Right.
Corey has spent some of that money, allegedly, on
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden, from living in Keith's basement and having financial troubles, he's got a $1.8 million mansion.
Interesting.
Now, that doesn't mean he paid for it cash.
Mm-hmm.
And as the trustee
True.
and actually inheriting that money, if he makes a down payment on the house and he's inherited this money,
Mm-hmm.
It's legitimate, right?
Right.
But the point that they're making is that there's a good possibility that Corey and Paul may have done this together.
Mm-hmm. That's a lot. We've been thinking that too. We've been kicking that around in our chat.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, let's kind of dig into that. So,
all right, first, let me ask you then.
sure.
Chad and Chris and Aaron, I see the little Claire exclamation points. You're making me want to giggle out loud every time you do that because I'm like, what did I just say? But usually it's because she agrees with me, like when she does that, right? When she
that's a prompt. It's a command that then shows our chat your YouTube channel.
No, it just has my name. It just
happened
happened just now.
But then afterwards, okay, yeah,
it's
sharing your channel.
I keep thinking I said something like
no. Okay, so here, so it's exclamation point Claire.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Aaron. Sorry, Aaron. I was like, what is she trying to tell me? What did I do?
No. That's whenever you do with this bot, with our bot, when you do an exclamation point, weather, exclamation point, whatever.
Oh, that's cool. You'll have to. What bot is that you? Well, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. There's several.
My
but
question
we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Chat into you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is what was the first thing that made you suspect Corey? That was it the opening statement, or let's get away from the opening statement. What witness or evidence presented to date in day 124? Forget opening statements. We know his name came up.
Right.
But what then? When did you go? Okay. Now we really got to think about this.
I would guess it would be when we found out that he was on. He was next in line after Paul, then Jennifer, then the kids, and then it went to, I guess then it was equally split. So did that come in for testimony? That must have come in for testimony versus.
Well, yes, they did list the beneficiaries. Yes.
Yeah. So I think it was then, because whenever there's, the 1.5 million on the table, you have to think, So that, to me, I think that's when I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
And you're thinking, why one brother and not the other, right? They're both going to benefit. Yeah.
They're both going to benefit. Yeah. So did Corey have anything to do with this? It's possible. And then you're thinking, well, and then I'm going to go back to opening statements because Miss Mastalone said that they didn't check his DNA. And I think she intimated that law enforcement didn't interview him, but in fact they did interview him.
She's trying. The fact that he wasn't a point of investigation, they did investigate him. They checked his alibi. They checked everything that the information that he was giving. They did police work. She's trying to make it like they ignored it. They did not ignore the presence of Corey Caneiro in this thing.
There's no
However,
way. Yeah, there's no
there's
way.
no filings on him. They didn't have him as a suspect. They didn't do a deep financial dive in them. They did like, cursory, a little bit on the surface,
Yeah.
because everything they were finding out, even from Corey's end, was leading to Paul.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
if you've got two paths to go down, right?
Mm-hmm.
In one has one piece of information, well, it could be, and the other one has 27, and this
Yeah.
is what you do for a living. Where are you going to spend your time?
Yeah. The one with 27, of course.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
this is defense 101, right? It's always
Yeah.
the investigation. Let's tear apart the investigation. The
Yeah.
law enforcement gets put on the stand. Did you say this? Did you did this? What didn't you do? What didn't you do?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more
Yeah.
important what they did do. Like,
Right.
like
Right.
let's just take, for instance, like she had she, being Monica Maslone, was making a big deal about the fact that he didn't document, Lieutenant Brady didn't have in his reports documentation of every house they went to check for cameras.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, but the ones that they found camera footage, they documented. And they
Mm-hmm.
made a single line statement that said no other video footage was found or available. To me,
Mm-hmm.
that covers the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't need you to tell me you went to 27 houses, you're investigating a murder. And if you
Mm-hmm.
found 3 pieces of footage, doesn't that say to me that, yes, you were canvassing the area? You've got 3 other patrolmen mentioning the look for other outside footage from the houses in the area.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's mentioning it. Why? Tell me,
Mm-hmm.
why does he
Yeah.
have to list? I went to house number 32. I went to house number 35. I went to house number 36. And,
Mm-hmm.
oh, by the way, they were in the middle of having tea. And this one likes his bread buttered on the left side. And that one had
Mm-hmm.
jam. Like,
Yeah.
these details are unnecessary. And I hate when they put it to a jury that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they
Yeah.
should have did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I agree. And she even took it, Miss Meslone even took it to the shopping center. She's like, "Oh, there's a shopping center. Did you go check that?" And he was like, "No, I know the streets. I've been covering this for like 20, 30 years, whatever. No, you can't see the intersection from that." And she was kind of pushing back on him, and he's like, "No, I know these streets. That's just not possible." So,
True, and so does Marino. Because Marino
yeah.
testified that he knew where the cameras were on the outside of Canero's, and that's why he was looking for the home security system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because Caneiro had given evidence in another investigation for what his cameras had caught, for something else that Marino had to find information on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so, like, oh, poor, like, Paul, like, he wasn't expecting that cop to show up,
I know,
okay?
right?
But he did. Okay,
Right.
but this, you gotta remember, Ocean Township, this is a small town. Everybody knows everybody. This is
Yeah.
Right.
So to get back to your question, I thought it was when I found out Corey was a beneficiary. But let me just pull up this comment. I'll pull it up again. Where was it? Yes, Sharon meeting Paul early in the morning. So again, that's what's he doing there, and giving him money. So what's he doing there? Why would Paul call Corey? How did Corey know?
His house is on fire. It's his brother. He needs help.
Right. So, okay. So he tried to call Keith. Keith wasn't answering. Called Jennifer. She wasn't answering. So then he calls Corey. Corey answered. Corey comes over. And then Corey goes to Pennsylvania.
Because don't forget, we've got Ben later. Like, this was before Ben called. So that's not fair either to say that, because it's well before Ben called. But this also lends suspicion on Paul. And yes, it does on Corey, but also with the chat. You know what really did it for me?
Yeah.
Heather Cap, the neighbor who says, I told 2 guys dressed in black with baseball caps. One went to the front door, the other one went to the back.
Well, the one that went to the front, banging on the door. The one that goes to the back had a light, presumably a cell phone, shining on the area that was on fire. So you think that was, who do you think that was?
Could it be Corey? I mean, could it be Corey and Paul?
I mean, anything's possible, right?
If
I mean, anything's
Paul
possible.
Caneiro's if Paul Caneiro's motive is to make sure that this fire looks like somebody was targeting them,
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't you want a neighbor to see some people targeting them?
Right. But why go to the front door and bang on the door, though? Why do
Because he knows
that?
there's a camera across the street.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not
And
disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to figure out if because he could have.
this is Jersey mentality. Are you ready for this? I'm going to give you
Sure.
some Jersey mentality here.
Lay it on me.
Because based of how like the environment and everything around here,
Mm-hmm.
if the so-called, can I say the word mafia? I don't want to get you in trouble.
I guess.
But,
I don't know.
all right. If
Is
it
that
was,
yeah.
Paul Caneiro's intention was to make it look like the mafia was after them or doing something because, for payment or something like that.
Right.
Would it not be the mafia's intent to keep you alive so you could pay? Because, you don't get no money from bodies, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
why wouldn't they pound on the door to wake you up as they set your house on fire as a major warning on you missed your payment, buddy?
Just like that.
Just like that. Okay.
Buddy. You sound so ominous.
But that was me doing as this, an old lady from Jersey trying to act like a mafia gangster. I know it doesn't work.
We definitely need to know more about these two people. And Miss Mastalone was going on and on about the baseball cap, right? She must have asked every witness after that 10 times. And what about the baseball cap? What about the baseball cap? Did you have a baseball cap on? Did you see a baseball cap? We were like, enough with the baseball cap.
The other thing is, it could have been police officers. The smoke, they saw the smoke. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the woman, she's saying adamantly 4:30, 4:30, 4:30. But yet, Mr. Harrington's like, I can't tell you it's 4:30. It was sometime before 5 o'clock. What if it's closer to 5 o'clock when they actually were there, the police, and maybe they were banging on the door to make sure people got out. They didn't see anybody yet, and they're looking in the backyard because that's where the smoke's coming from. Or they saw smoke, or where it was reported.
It was what's her? I know Cap is her Heather. Yeah, Heather Cap. She says she woke up and she looked directly at the clock, whereas Jonathan Harrington, he says he only has a clock on his cable, so he didn't. He was more disoriented. So I can kind of understand, because I do that. Like if something wakes me up, I'll look at the clock and I know, okay, it was 3:38 or whatever it was. I can kind of understand that testimony where she knew exactly what time it was. Whereas Mr. Harrington was a little bit more like, well, I don't know what time it was exactly, but it was sometime around that time. So I can kind of understand his position based on that. But
if it's not Corey and Paul, who is it?
Some people are saying just early morning joggers, neighbors walking their dog.
Yeah. What if it's just people who saw the smoke and reported it? What if it's the people who actually first are letting them know that there's something going on at the house?
I'm leaning more towards that. It was just some concerned neighbors versus
who don't want to get involved.
And then they disappear, right? And that's really weird.
Don't want to get involved. Well,
right.
It's okay. What if you're okay? We're going to do the trolley question and we're going to twist it up. Okay, you ready? So what if you are out there doing something in the middle of the morning that you're not supposed to be doing and you see somebody's house on fire? And so you try to get them out of the house, report it, and leave because you see like the house isn't engulfed and you woke the family up. But you don't want to be a witness and you don't want to say you're the one that reported, because whatever you're doing out there at 4:30 in the morning,
right?
Like maybe hanging out with your boyfriend and your wife doesn't know.
Right. So you're doing something nefarious or that you don't want people to know, and then you see something else.
It's just something you don't want everybody to know about. It's like nobody's business. Like, or I've got, or even this, I've got a meeting in 2 hours. I don't have time for this. That's more the Jersey way. Listen, I did what I needed to do. I don't got time for this. Like you do, I got to do this over here. That's more how it is.
Yeah. Don't want to get involved is a very common thing. I have experienced that absolutely a lot of times where I'll see something. I'm like, I just don't have, you're right. I just don't have time. I'm on my way to work. I just don't have time to do that. This was, years ago or whatever, something happened. Or I see you'll see a car crash and there's like, people are pulled over or something's happening. And there's already 10 people on the scene. One more person isn't going to make or break it. So that's why I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to continue on, or I'll call 911 or do whatever. So I can kind of understand that. So, but if you're a neighbor, would you, yeah, but I'm with you on that. Maybe they were doing something that they didn't want people to know what they were doing. They saw this, they were concerned, and they went and they banged on the door. But it didn't really accomplish anything, because did Paul say he said he woke up to the smoke alarms going off. So he didn't hear banging on the door.
Paul Caneiro was sleeping, huh? Because I mean, in all honesty, he just came upstairs from turning the DVR off.
Well, then he said he went to sleep at 6. Let's get into that.
Sorry, I don't care what Paul Caneiro said. The DVR is factual evidence, and it says, hell no, you weren't. You were in the garage turning off your DVR. Just moment. Okay, like, no. So it doesn't matter what Paul Caneiro says about sleeping and medication. He was not asleep. You don't do what he did or what he's accused of. I shouldn't say he's guilty.
Yeah. Allegedly, yes.
You don't climb down the stairs from your bed. Oh, and by the way, he was sleeping in a separate room from his wife that night. How convenient.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Why isn't anybody talking about that? I am. See, there's so much more that, like, I know everybody's going to say, but that's circumstantial, Claire. That's circumstantial. You know what? Circumstantial is what links hard evidence together for a solid conviction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So even the fact, if he turned off his cellular devices for tracking that day, and it's out of ordinary from the pattern that he normally does, like you get the cell information. We've seen this before in cases, right? And they always have their tracking on. They never change anything. And the day of the alleged event, all of a sudden you can't track him. That's circumstantial. Does that not link you to other evidence?
Of course.
Open up a window for possibility, and does not look like, sometimes looking guilty is guilty.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping that, first of all, we've been teased as to the DVR, right? They said that they did get there was some evidence on there. There was something on that evidence, or there was something on the DVR.
But I don't know what else, but I've seen the clip of him pushing the button off, pushing it off.
Okay, well,
I've seen that clip.
Okay. All right, I have not seen that.
That is him actually. All of a sudden, it goes out.
Wow.
And
so
he's approaching the DVR, and it goes out.
So who's going to bring that in then? Is that going to be a digital forensic expert?
I guess when they start talking about forensics, and they start bringing in, when they bring in the technicians that go over everything, and they bring in the IT guys and all of that, it's going to be part of all of that. I hope
it's got to come out then. Yeah. And also Lucchese, Catherine Lucchese. We saw her calling 911 on Keith's house on fire, and it was daytime. It was like 12:30 in the afternoon. And her camera was facing right across the street. Granted, Keith's house is back quite a ways, but you could see the road. So I'm hoping that they have from 3 to 4.
The only time Paul could have went. You mean 3 to 4 in the morning?
Yeah. I hope that they have a car driving by and they can match that to a Porsche, whatever he was driving.
I haven't heard anything about them having anything like that. I don't think Paul Caneiro would actually have his vehicle on a camera.
Okay. So then the next question is, how did he get there then? He borrowed, or he had another car, or?
Okay. Colts Neck is very sprawling.
Yeah.
Okay. So he would not park on any of the roads or drive to any of the roads surrounding Keith Caneiro's house, because everybody you saw those houses, right? Who wouldn't have security cameras?
Right. And multiple.
Did you also notice how there's these small wooded areas between the properties, like all over the place?
Yes.
So you go to so here's my conspiracy, my little tinfoil hat. You go to one of the roads that is protected by one of those wooded areas, and you just have to take the walk.
Okay. So
and if you've got a lifetime in jail over your head, I think it's a short walk.
Yeah. I was going to say a
Considering
half a mile, maybe half a mile walk, what's
not
that? 10.
even,
Yeah.
even if it's only a couple of acres, even like between
Okay.
the properties, as long as he's on a street
Yeah.
where, and I know that they're going to look at all of that security cameras and all, but I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
I also don't think, I mean, he could have Ubered it, but there
That's
would be
true.
records. I doubt he would have Ubered it, but that
Yeah.
brings Corey in again. Perhaps Corey drove him there,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Let us now move to, how about that phone call? How about the phone call between Paul and Keith? Now, this is at Keith's house.
Hmm.
He has cameras in his house, of course, and in and out. So there's a phone call between Paul and Keith on November 19th. I think was
There are
around
two phone
5, 6 o'clock. Yeah, there was
calls.
two, right? And we heard them. They played those in court. And what are your impressions on that phone call? What do you think about that?
I think that shows that things had escalated to the point where Keith had had enough.
Mm-hmm.
I think that solidified, that actually made, I think Paul had been thinking about this because everything's snowballing. He's already altering bank records. He didn't alter those bank records after the fact. The accountant already had them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
He'd
Right.
already given them to everybody. Okay. He knows things are coming to a head. They're pushing him to sell EchoStar. Okay.
Right.
He knows Keith's business isn't doing well. He knows Keith's out looking for a job. They're best friends. It's not like they're talking about it all the time, right? Keith's telling him what's up. Now
Mm-hmm.
Keith is looking for his life insurance money. He already went through an incident with him in April, which he
Mm-hmm.
covered up by saying, I paid some educational stuff. I pushed the wrong button, Keith. I paid the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
But he paid that money back.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was the last of it. He never paid them again.
Mm-hmm.
He never paid Canada Life again.
I don't
He
think
knows. He
I don't
knows
think he.
Keith is getting the statements every quarter. He knows he's only got months, right? So when
Right.
Keith makes that phone call, he knows the very next statement that comes out is going to show that they borrowed against the policy again to pay the premiums to keep it active.
Mm-hmm.
And Keith is going to hit the fan. So when Keith's calling him, and here's the key, he knows he's in trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Keith says, that's it, Paul. Give me the damn password. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look for it myself. No more excuses. I'll do the work. This is making me crazy.
Yep.
Give me the password.
Yep.
And Paul won't do it. He gives him 2 hours.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Right then, Paul knew gig is up.
Yeah.
Because if Keith went legal, he could get the password for the TD account. He could go to TD with an attorney and the CPA. He could sign over privileges for the CPA to get the bank statements under subpoena from the bank.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't look good for Paul at that point in time. It does not look good for him, and that to me right there is enough to have pushed him over the edge. Again, this is all alleged, but if you're gonna,
a lot of people are like, well, you can't hear Paul's side of the conversation. So I said, I don't really think that matters right now. Like, it doesn't matter what he said.
Yeah.
And it's one party state. It's perfectly legal. Sorry, Paul, but it came in. You can't do anything about it because permission is granted by just the actual fact that there happen to belong to Keith Caneiro, those cameras. He knows they're available. He knows everything he says and does is being recorded.
Right.
Which means there's no presumption of privacy. Nobody's rights are being violated. Nothing. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can infer by I'm just looking at my notes here. So, tell me what the password is. I'll do the research myself. I need access to the money. Canada Life is saying they haven't received payments since April. Give me the login. I need it now, Paul. I just spent half the day, Paul. I need it. Give me the effing login, Paul. I mean, I think you can kind of get. Paul's probably like, well, I don't have it, or I need to get it, or it's not in, he's making excuses.
I got an appointment. I'll have to look it up. I don't know it off the top of my head. I got to go pick it up, and he knows he's sitting in his house in his office with it. He knows he has it. He does this every day, know?
Yeah. Tell me where the money went. I need to know where the money went. And it's not like Keith is like, Keith is yelling at this point. Keith is like yelling and screaming at him, So I think, I don't think it's much of a stretch of imagination to say, Paul was probably, like you were just saying, well, he's making excuses, and Keith is like, no, let's go. Where is this money? This money is, Canada Life is not getting their payments for months now, months since April, and it was November. So
yeah.
Understandably, Keith was upset. Totally get that. All
And
right, let's see what else.
you have to remember that he'd already gone through this in April.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He already went
So
through it.
he
You're
kind
right.
of has an idea that, like he said, like, I need you to wake up, Paul. Like, it's
Hmm.
like, another word for like, where's your head at? Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, not
Well,
again. Like, I'm getting sick of this,
well, Keith admitted right in that. Or I'm sorry, Paul admitted in that email that he had his head up his butt. Right, he said that. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. And okay, so then that leads into this emotional state, Keith's emotional state in the email. So they pulled out an email from like 2012 or something, 2014,
Oh yeah, Andy Murray. Yes. Like, yes.
about Susan, I think was her name. I have her name written down. I can't.
It was a refinance on a loan that he wanted to do, and he got turned down because of the IRS money that they owed through the business and
Yeah,
everything. And
yeah.
I'm sorry, if that happened to you, would you be annoyed? I would be annoyed.
Of course.
You
Yeah.
make
So that
millions of dollars a year.
right.
Okay, you can obviously afford the mortgage payments and stuff like that. You're not in debt like with them. You want to refi, and they're like, "Oh well, you owe money to the IRS, so we can't give you a good rate." Like, I would
Hmm.
be like, especially you're doing. He did all of his banking for all of his companies with TD.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like, they weren't giving him the respect. It was all about respect, and I'm with him on that.
Hmm.
I'm with him on that.
I still don't get the connection between, okay, so 4, 5, 6 years before
There is
2018,
no connection, which is actually why he's not coming in.
right? He was high strung. They kept saying he's high strung. His
Yes,
character is high strung. How does that prove that he's high?
was
Okay,
he?
okay. Even if he was high strung, how does that then he's yelling at his brother? So that means that that's just the way he is. So that means Paul doesn't have a motive to delete him. I mean that.
If I
I
put the defense, if I go into defense mode, I'm the
yeah,
defense attorney, right? I
yeah.
want to show a pattern that it wasn't a big deal because they did have a close relationship. They want to show a pattern that Paul always paid the money back. Keith got high strung about stuff, and then they always came back together and worked it out. Keith used to
Okay,
get upset at Paul about this or that, but they always worked it out. He always pays the money back. Nothing to see here. It was going to be just
okay,
fine. There's no reason to annihilate a family because the
okay,
brothers were upset with each other. I think that's
okay.
the direction he was going. But I think one piece of evidence from 2012 over a situation that most people would be upset about when you talk, all right, money is an upsetting issue.
Right, right.
I
Okay,
mean,
so
it's
Paul, so from a
it's the reason for divorce in most cases, in percentage wise. It always has something to do with that,
yeah,
arguing over finances, money coming in, expenses, whatever, spending
right.
styles. Like, so money is always a hot issue anyway. Being denied money that you feel you're entitled to and be like,
Mhm.
it's always going to be upsetting. And
And
he's
a lot of it, and a lot of it. It's not like $100. It's a lot,
it was a lot of money.
a
It was
lot of
a lot of
money. Yeah,
percentage, and I think he felt disrespected. And it's one email. And
right,
it's
right.
in TD. They had to go digging for it. It's her reporting because she
Yeah,
has to cover her butt, like the person who got the email, as to
mhm,
why one of their biggest clients, you have to forget, like, look at all the money that his companies were putting into TD Bank, and they're all using TD Bank personally. If the
mhm,
Caneiro family had pulled out, like, somebody's going to have to answer, right? So don't
mhm.
you think that the receiver of that email was reporting it that way to protect her own butt?
Probably.
And
Yeah,
job?
yeah,
Right, like,
yeah.
so, yeah, that's what we should talk about, but we don't have to, because
Mhm,
Andy Murray, after reading the writing on the wall and understanding that if he brings in 2012, well, so does the prosecution, and there's
mhm.
a lot more about Paul Caneiro that they don't want in there.
Yeah, was that one of those moments of opening the door? I know there was a couple of them. Was that one
Oh,
of them?
yeah, because if you notice when they came back after the little conference, Andy was like,
Yeah.
basically, in simple terms, "Never mind."
Yep, it would open the door to all of Keith's reactions to his brother stealing from him. And the
And all
judge,
the
I have
times his brother did steal from him, showing a pattern of
yeah.
disregard and respect for boundaries,
Right.
okay?
So it was 2016. It was September 14th, 2016.
2016. Mhm.
And the state's like, it would open the door to all of Keith's reactions to his brother stealing from him. So, yeah.
Which means they get to bring, and the big thing is they were very careful, the prosecution, on what they were allowing the best friend to say that Keith was saying about his brother in the
Hmm.
key moments before everything happened, like the months before,
Hmm.
during, the window of this event. Okay.
Mhm.
They
Mhm.
really tamped it down because that was, again, about scope and about the pretrial hearings and about the defense arguing against it, hearsay this, and you can't really talk what he said, even though he's not here to speak for himself and everybody knows what Keith was saying about it. He talked to
Mhm.
everybody about it. It wasn't going to come into trial that way because it does fall under the hearsay rule. There's nobody that you can, with the hearsay rule, you have to be able to cross what somebody says.
Mhm.
So who are they going to cross? You can't, because he's not here.
Mhm. Right.
There's not a third party that heard it,
Right.
So it would have opened it up for all of those conversations without it being hearsay if they were going to use it. If you're going to use his words after the fact and he can't defend them and say
Mhm.
why he was so upset, then we get to use Ben's recollection of what Keith was saying about Paul. And then it would have came out that, all of the plans in what he was actually specifically saying Paul did.
Mhm.
And why he was upset with Paul. And that would have been devastating, because I think for a jury to hear in the victim's words how upset he was with the person you're being accused, it kind of would
Mhm.
hit home. I
Yeah.
don't think they could recover from that if they put that in the jury's mind.
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, it led right to Ben, and because Ben was stifled. Ben wasn't able to say all that
He
he.
wasn't, yes,
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of legal, right? And the
Mhm.
pre-trial, and that's why you got to follow this stuff from the start to find out
Mhm.
why they're doing what they do, because really now it's only what the jury gets to hear, and you and I both know more than the jury.
Mhm.
We're going to know more of what happened and more of what they had but they can't use, or why they're talking about this but not that, than the jury
Mhm.
will ever know.
Right.
They get
Right.
very limited scope.
Agreed. Just kind of looking through some of my notes here about, okay, so at one point, Paul, when he's talking to law enforcement the day of that his house is on fire, he says, there was some stuff in the garage, right? And I have an open ticket on the DVR. Do you think that law enforcement, or have you heard anything that law enforcement investigated that? Did they actually look into that to see if he, quote unquote, had an open ticket on the DVR?
What do you mean by an open ticket? I don't even understand what
Yeah,
they're.
so it's you when you go to when you have a product that needs service, whether it's computer, online, or whatever, they open a ticket. So that just means you take in this case, you take a DVR into a company, and they say, okay, we're going to fix this, and we're going to give you a ticket. We're going to open a ticket, which just means we're going to start work on whatever that project is. So by
Okay.
opening a ticket, that just means you have given me something that's off or wrong and broken, whatever, and then I'm going to fix it. So I'm opening a ticket to let you know that
Okay, well,
I'm
that
doing
would
that. So,
go with him saying he was having problems with it, because he did tell the police that. But he also said that there was no power to
mhm,
it and that it wasn't being used. And yet there is evidence on it that shows a time stamp and a date stamp of him turning it actually off that
mhm,
coincides with the day of the fire. Now,
mhm.
can an open ticket change the date and time that things are recorded?
Uh, wait, say that again.
Does the open ticket change the ability of the DVR to timestamp a recorded event?
No,
So what does it matter?
right. It shouldn't, but I still want
It's
to.
like the Murdaugh. It's like Paul's video on the phone with the Murdaugh trial. Say
Right,
whatever you want, Mr. Murdaugh, or where you were or what you were doing. But
right.
this piece of evidence here that time stamped and dated everything says otherwise.
It's not going to
So why
change,
do
right?
I even have to consider it? For
Well,
me, it doesn't matter. It's like
mm,
it's when they blow smoke.
yeah. Well,
It's
it would be a lie.
confusing
Wouldn't that
jury.
be a lie that would then just? Well, why are you lying about
Well,
that?
if there is not an open ticket, it's another lie in the alibi and in the statements. There are multiple lies in the statements that Paul Caneiro already gave. They're already disproven. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's just going to make anything that comes from there less reliable. His alibi, everything is just
Yeah.
not.
All right. I guess I would say that it would be one more fact of him lying, and then why are you lying? Like I
Mhm.
could see using that in like closing, a closing if they bring that if they bring that evidence in.
It proves to not motive, but you know the term consciousness of guilt.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
other and also what came up in the testimony we've already heard from day 1 to day 4 is multiple instances where he is volunteering information they haven't asked. Innocent
Like
people don't do that.
what? What are some examples?
Um, just, "I don't have any enemies."
Okay.
Before they even asked. There were several instances, I forget which officer it was, I'll have to go back and look, but
Right.
it struck out to me because he's saying he's volunteering information because one of the detectives, Marino alone, said that that's what kinda led him on. "I'm interviewing him and he's throwing extra information at me, and this is what's gonna make a cop start wondering what you're doing."
Right, right, right. Oh yeah, no, I know. It's like in the back of my
You
that
know what I'm saying?
he
I
knew
don't know the exact words, but you
yeah.
know what I'm saying. The cop actually said, so you're like, he's throwing extra words at me, which makes
Mhm,
I'm gonna have to check stuff out. Like red
mhm,
flags going off for the officer.
mhm. Yeah. I cover so many trials, and I'm trying to remember if it's this one or another one where it's like he said something and information wasn't out yet. I don't know if it was this trial or not, but
Yeah.
yeah, it could be. I don't know. Um, do you want to talk about Andy Murray's black eye?
How I mean, what happened? Like he did that whole thing with the judge the day before and trying to bring in this extra information, and then we don't hear from him at all, and he's got a black eye. It's like, does somebody get upset with him and take him into the bathroom and go, "Don't do that again"? Like, do you
And
think it was
that was
Monica?
day
It
3. It
was
was day 3. He
Monica?
shows up. All right, for those that didn't know, so Andy Murray is the lead counsel. I think like Miss Mastalone is the head, right? She's the
Yes,
head
Monica
defense.
Mastroeni is the lead defense attorney. Yes.
So he comes in with like this black, pretty pronounced black underneath his eye, and his eye was like kind of red, and everybody's like in their chat is like, what's going on? Does he have a
And he
black eye?
doesn't
I'm
do
like,
cross for the whole day. He doesn't do
yeah,
cross.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
He's no
yeah.
longer doing cross. Like that's what I'm saying. I said to my friend, I said, I think Monica had it out with him in the bathroom before they got caught that day. And she's like, don't make us look bad like that again.
Poor Andy. Well, of course, I'm a tennis fan, and I think of Andy Murray, the tennis legend, and I'm like, oh, poor
Yeah.
Andy. So we were doing like tennis analogies of like, oh,
At
he
at
serves one
first, I
into the
thought it
net.
was an allergy, and then you mentioned it, and I saw how black it was, like, I really looked like, at first, I
Yeah,
thought it was just puffy eye, but
yeah.
then you had said something when I was over in your chat, and we were watching the trial, I'm like, "Wait a minute here, like, that really does look like he ran into a doorknob." Wait,
Yes.
wait. You know?
Something happened, and his eye was
I
red. Like when he would look around or whatever, I saw that this his eye was pretty red. It was pretty red.
Yeah,
So
we could joke about it. I don't really think, please don't come at me, Attorney Mestalone. I did not mean to defame your reputation. I'm joking.
right.
In case you didn't get it, it was sarcasm, it was joking. But one of them has to look good to the judge at all times. They can't both be bad guys. Like, they gotta be
Right.
good cop, bad cop. Like, what they gotta keep it together. And Judge Lameau is really annoyed with Monica Messalone right now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
she's not wrong, but she's not right either. Like, I
Are
noticed her defending herself a lot and
Mhm,
also picking on things the prosecutor says and stuff. That's not how it is. Da, 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 da,"
mhm.
and it's like people, she might be right, but it doesn't mean that the people around her are going to work with her very much about it. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
she can be like, mm, we'll use the A word, annoying. How's that?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have this conversation a lot about defense attorneys. It's like if you, excuse me, if you were in Paul's position, who would you want representing you? Would you want somebody like Miss Mastalone, or would you want somebody who's just phoning it in? So
Mm.
I
I
always
would
think
want
about that.
Monica Maslow. Nobody could deny her passion
Yeah.
for defending him, and the way she came out, and I give her a lot of credit for this. I am not defending the acts. They're horrible. They're tragic.
Hmm.
This should have
Yeah.
never happened. That is horrible. I agree with you. I'm just as upset about all of this as you, but it
Hmm.
wasn't Paul. I'm defending Paul, not the
Yeah.
act,
Hmm.
which for a jury, that's a big statement. That clearly delineates anything I'm doing here is making you focus on the fact, not the emotion of what happened, but who did it?
Right.
Okay. And because you don't want the jury to be too emotional. This is horrifying. We got children here. We have a young girl with 16 stab wounds. That's
Yeah.
excessive.
In the left eye too. That came out when I heard that.
Oh, well, and he's coming back on Tuesday. I don't want to hear the rest of these with Zerillo.
We still have to go through. Yeah. Then the ME. The ME is going to be. ME is always tough, right? That's always.
Yes.
I personally. ME to me is always the most important because that really shows what happened.
What happened
forensically, but it's also the most difficult because it's what happened.
Because
so
even in opening statements, we learned information we didn't have before. That there was smoke inside the children's lungs, which means they were alive and died of smoke inhalation from the fire. And to me, what a horrible way. Nicole did a great job getting on their emotions with that, saying their parents are already dead and they're there, and they died of smoke. A horrible way to go.
Yeah. I don't know how, to be quite honest, I don't know how. Is it Sophie or Sophia? I always say Sophia.
I say Sophie. I'm not sure. Sophie. I think it ends with an E, but
okay. Sophie. So 16 stab wounds on top of her head, even and on her face and in her eye. I'm like, I don't know.
She's small. She's 8 years old. She's
she's tiny. Yeah.
You know what? I think it is Sophia because it's Sophia Caneiro. Yes, I think it might be Sophia.
Okay, so I mean, just horrible, and we still, like you said, we have to go through cross still. And then, of course, the ME. But I don't know how she was still alive, to be quite honest, getting stabbed that many times. But she fought, So.
And no 16 stab wounds means, and the way that she was positioned on the stairs, going upstairs, like she was going to try to get away, like she came down the stairs and then going, means that she probably did fight back.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So Jennifer, wife, was found on the landing, the first floor, whatever, right? First floor.
On the stairs to the basement.
Yeah. Jesse is in the kitchen and then Sophia's on the landing going upstairs. So how do you think this all happened? I mean, obviously Keith.
The power went out. And
right.
Remember, Keith goes out to investigate it. So everybody's up for safety. Right. They bring the children downstairs. And the wife is going downstairs to look at the box for him so they can talk back and forth on how to fix this. What's going on? It makes perfect sense to me. You don't want the children upstairs in the dark, waking up and stumbling down the stairs. So you bring the children downstairs while you go out and you do all of this. To me, it makes sense. Early morning, total blackout. It puts it not like at 4 o'clock in the morning. It probably puts it at like 2, 3 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? For him to be able to do all this and get back to the house to set his own house on fire.
Right. Yeah.
But shots to see from the ME. When did they actually? What is the window?
Right. I think they heard shots. I'm sure we're going to hear from there's, I think 2 neighbors called in 911 about shots, and they're saying, can you go hunting at night? I think
was it around 3 o'clock in the morning or something?
Yeah. Let me see if I can find the exact timing, but
we do have a lot of deer in the area, and if it's deer season, they are allowed to hunt. You do hear shots. Like, it's not uncommon in Colts Neck.
Okay. So 3:30 and 911 neighbor hearing 6 shots. So
do you think that gives him plenty of time to do what he needed to do and get back home?
Then was it 4? What was the time that Heather 4:30?
4:30. She says 4:30 adamantly. I think it gives you time.
And it's only a 12-mile drive, right? It's only like 15 minutes.
Yeah, 20, it's like less than they get there in 10, 15 minutes tops with Route 18.
Especially at that time of night. There's no traffic.
There's nobody on the road. Yeah. And now you got 2 people on the outside of the house. It sounds like it to me. It does sound.
It's definitely possible, doable. I mean, it does not look good for Paul, and I mean, everything's kind of aligning to find him guilty at this point. Although I'm going to play devil's advocate, let's go on the other side of that from a defense standpoint and reasonable doubt. So, who then comes home after doing this horrific thing and just dumps their clothes, bloody clothes, apparently in the basement? Why wouldn't you burn them? Why wouldn't you dispose of them? Like
fire. He does think that the house is going to burn down.
So he thinks, okay, and then it's just the shirt. I mean, it's just the pants. Nicole, what about his jeans? Or what about his?
Specifically mentioned that those clothing that in the corner there were damaged by the fire.
Oh, were they? Oh, I didn't know that.
They were. So, Yeah, so you're putting it in plastic because if the plastic melts, it destroys DNA and everything else. It's going to mix.
Okay, I didn't
You
know
don't
that.
just leave it at, okay.
All
I mean,
right.
I would put it in plastic so that it would turn into a mass of something you don't know what it is.
Yeah. Quite honestly, I would just I would take it as far away as I could, but
True, but you think, all right, let's get a little like this is all speculation. There's no actual evidence for
of
any of
course.
this. But
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
if you're thinking about it and you don't want evidence left, you need to
Hmm.
contaminate, and there's going to be a fire to destroy the evidence. You need to remember they can still sift through the ash and find stuff.
Yeah.
You need something to compromise what they're going to find. So you need a container that's going to melt into some kind of chemical compound that alters what's around it. Plastic
Mm-hmm.
sounds good to me,
All right.
right?
That makes
You think
sense. Yeah.
you with me? If you
Yeah.
can't burn it on its own, right?
Right.
So I'm thinking maybe that's what he was thinking. Maybe not. Maybe he didn't even go that far. Maybe he's rushed.
Hmm.
Maybe he thinks they're never going to find it because I mean, who puts the gloves, the bullet, like everything all in the same place anyway? It's not like he's thinking clearly.
No. Yeah.
Obviously, anyone who could do this is not actually thinking clearly or like you and I right now, right?
Right. Right.
We can approach it with all the reasonableness in the world, but this
Hmm.
is an extraordinary event, and he's in an extraordinary frame of mind that we're
Agreed.
never going to understand. We're never
Agreed.
going to understand. I know they're saying I know too much. I know I watch too much television. I follow. I'm obsessed with mob movies in like crime. Like I've been like too much. You're right,
Hmm.
too much. Like
Yeah.
I put myself there.
Yeah. This is a great question, JMS, and I think were we talking about this earlier a couple days ago.
Mhm.
Digital. I'm really looking forward to digital data. So not only Paul's phone, like you were talking about earlier, did he turn it off? Did he have it with him? Did he
Mhm.
leave it at home? The Porsches. I mean, every car that he owns has GPS tracking in it. So
I've
what's
heard
that going to
nothing
show?
in any of the hearings about GPS. Have you?
Yeah. No.
I
No.
do know about the limiting scope on the devices that were taken from electronic devices that were taken from his house, either a second cell phone or it was a laptop or a tablet, which
Yeah.
when they got it legitimately through a warrant and whatever, but when they downloaded all the information, it had information on it that doesn't relate to this case or other parties that
Hmm.
needed to be redacted and limited in scope. And that's all I know about that. Like, that's
Okay.
all that happened in the public hearing. Remember, none of the documents are available. All we
Hmm.
have are the public hearings to go by. So
Hmm.
unless they're arguing about a piece of evidence, we don't even know it exists.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
We
not
can't.
like we're out there talking about it.
Right. And like you said, the witness list, we could see, Bob Smith, digital forensics, whatever. So we could say, oh, they're calling a digital data
No,
expert.
they won't even.
So,
That really perturbs me. Like, that should be public. The witness list should be public at this point.
yeah. Yeah.
If they're
Well,
because the trial's open, anybody can walk in and see who the witness is.
mhm,
And they're actually streaming it, so the names are not going to be private.
yeah. If,
Uh,
if, if his car, if any of his cars show that he traveled to Keith's house at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, he's toast. Well,
or if the car has been tampered and the module for GPS has been removed.
yeah,
You think,
Corey took the car. I mean, you could go down, you could say that, it wasn't me,
right?
it was somebody else, yeah,
Because
yeah.
sometimes the lack of information is very telling.
Hmm. True.
That happened in the Murdoch trial. How many times did that phone get turned off?
Yeah.
And how many? And they were able to prove that every day before that, for months, it was never
Hmm.
turned off. Never,
Hmm.
ever, ever, ever. He had it with him all the time. And then all of a sudden,
Right.
he left it in the house while he went out and did something else. That doesn't match. That
Does not.
doesn't match a pattern of behavior for a whole year before.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. We've covered trials where people are on there, like they'll show the day before, the day of, like every 5 minutes they're texting or they're calling or they're on their
Mhm.
phone, and then all of a sudden it just goes dead, literally goes
That
dead,
in the Morphew trial, that's a big thing.
Mm.
Almost, I mean, that was one of the biggest uh, uh, probable cause affidavits I ever saw, 143 pages of nothing but circumstantial evidence. 143 pages. Biggest one I ever saw.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Amby Corey would have $1.5 million to gain. And he did, right? He has obtained that, or are they holding that? Or he does have that money?
Well, I'm curious. No, I think he does. He's the trustee right now because Paul is incarcerated. And I don't think Paul is. I have to find out the legalities. We're not going to hear about that unless we hear in the civil suit, which is we can get the documents on that. I do have the complaint. I know what the family is alleging, mismanagement of those funds and everything like that. But we're not going to know until that comes back after this trial. That'll heat up again. I don't know if Paul is still eligible for his half. I don't know if that means that Corey gets all of it.
That's what I was. Yeah, I was wondering if Paul is found guilty, I would think that 1.5 then goes to Corey because he's next in line. But if Paul is found not guilty, excuse me, if he's found not guilty, then he should get that 1.5, right?
He should. Yes,
yeah. He should. And then there's the civil wrongful.
If he does get that 1.5, I could guarantee that disability and Social Security are going to take it.
yeah, then there's that.
And so is the IRS. Like he's got some issues. I would suspect an audit in his future.
He's screwed.
In a bunch of financial troubles afterwards.
Yeah, he's
because
screwed.
They proved the fraud hands down. Nobody can deny the fraud. Okay.
Nope.
Nobody can deny that. All right.
Right.
For me, that was black and white. And here's the thing. You know how you know you got to pay attention to it? Defense said nothing about it. Okay. When they were going after Debbie Bessinger, they were going after, did you check this? Did you check that? Did you care where the money went when they died? No, it's not what she was investigating. And she was very good about saying, no, that's not what we were looking at. And it's not for me to say why we didn't go out of the scope. It wasn't pertinent. It's not when things changed. This is when things changed. This is where the real investigation is, you know?
Right. Excuse me. So, Mallory, was Corey involved with any of the other businesses?
No.
Yeah, he was not involved. Was he like the
Paul and Keith were the business, were like thick as thieves with businesses and things like that. Corey was younger and it wasn't his thing. He was not in the businesses at all.
Yeah, interesting. I wonder if he wanted to be or he just was not interested, I guess.
Well, it tells you that it wasn't like they were estranged because Keith went to Corey and Corey knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Keith felt comfortable enough with Corey to let him know what was going on and inform him of everything. And
supposedly Corey was living in Keith's basement. We still haven't.
He does take care of him, and but he might have the youngest syndrome for all we know. Like maybe the parents doted on him more when he was younger. Maybe there's a bigger age gap. I don't know how old he is actually. Paul Caneiro's in his 50s, right? And so was he, right?
Paul was born in 66. Keith was born in 68. So Paul was born December. So he's going to be 60 this year. And Keith would have been 58 in May. So I don't know. I didn't get Corey's birth year. So I don't know.
Just thinking if anybody, he's 52. So he, as the youngest, back in 2018, he would have only been 44 years old.
Okay.
He was born in 74.
Okay. Let me jot that down. So Corey's 74.
So he is the youngest. Okay. And maybe he's got, the two brothers are already bonded and the parents are like doting on the baby and he never has to do things the way they did. So
True.
Yeah, maybe it's like that. But who knows? Who knows?
Right.
It's not unusual in a family to have, with the different personalities and goals and everything.
I think JMS just asked about the injury. Yeah, let's talk about Paul's hand. What do you make of that? We went over that for a long time. I don't know if you were with us at that point, but what do you think of Paul's hand?
I'm the one who says that definitely looks like an injury of somebody who just dismantled a generator and took an electrical meter off the wall.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, that's brilliant. I wasn't even thinking about that. Yeah, talk to us about that.
Because there is a slight puncture there. He's got tools. He can't dismantle the generator with just his hands or rip an electrical. You've seen electrical meters. You know what we're talking about. You
Yeah.
can just rip that off the wall without a little bit of assistance. I'm thinking something, something fought back a little bit as far as resistance, and the tool slipped, and there's a slight puncture in his hand. It would also account for how the swelling and the bruise. Yeah. Or in electrical, maybe he got a short. This is true. He could have like tampering with that meter, maybe, or something, or the generator. He got injured by electricity, and that would also damage your skin and can make a puncture like mark on you.
Oh, would it be a burn? Would it be more of a burn? I've never had electrical.
Well, that
I
mark
always,
does look a little burny, but not
yeah,
actually burny. It's not black, but it's dark,
right,
like blood came to the surface very fast, and there
right,
appears to be a slight opening if there is an opening. It's very hard to tell from the pictures.
right. Yeah, Pammy, either by his own knife or screwdriver tool. Yeah,
That's what I was
yeah,
thinking, something slipped.
right.
I don't think it's a burn at all. I just think that because there's a fire going on, that this is something that they're saying it could have been a burn, and this is how it's getting documented by police at the time. I don't think it was a burn.
So
But
you're not.
I do think it's the kind of injury that you don't get while you're sleeping under medication in the middle of the night.
Well, I was going to say you're not buying the fact that he says he hit it. He hit his hand on the door as he was either coming, going, or whatever during the fire. So you're not buying that.
No, I say, yeah, right.
Yeah, no.
Is Well, how
Yeah,
did that happen when you were already downstairs, like out in the garage? Like, how did that happen? That's what I would say.
yeah. Plus, door handles aren't sharp, right? And there's no
Oh, they're
door handle
so
that's
vicious. Oh, look at
good.
Andy Murray. Like, come on, like doorknobs are vicious, vicious.
But Mr. Murray didn't have a puncture. He just had a bruise. He didn't have a puncture.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
All right. Okay. So I'm up to day 4 now, which was Thursday. And then we'll talk about what happened day 5. Okay. So day 4 for me, the highlights were Judge Lemieux was very upset. It was that whole AI thing that
Oh,
the
can we
fire
just?
marshal. Oh, go ahead.
Oh my God, Craig Finnegan.
Yeah.
What the
Yeah.
hell? Why was he even on the stand?
Well, yeah, he said it was, yeah. He went there. He goes to the house. He does a 4-point inspection or whatever. Then he said it was a
But he's
7.
not there to investigate an incendiary fire. He actually said that clearly. He's the
Yeah.
2018 Ocean Township fire marshal at the time.
Yeah. He said it
And
was
he
above his
actually
expertise. It was beyond his expertise. Ultimately, he had to have somebody else come in and
he was the fire marshal.
yeah.
Okay, that just tells you, and there are stories. Let me just tell you that in Ocean Township with the Wanamassa Fire Department, if you go and you research the Asbury Park Press and you put Wanamassa Fire Department, you'll find out why he shouldn't have been on the stand. He shouldn't even have been involved. That whole fire department had so much stuff going on in bad. Like, this man wasn't even qualified for his job, obviously.
Right.
How do you say I wasn't there to investigate an incendiary fire on the stand?
He said it.
And who?
He said it. Yeah. What was he
And
there for? Basically, he was there to give
Because he was on the scene. Everybody, all the first responders on the scene that day,
yeah.
are on the list. I don't know why prosecution didn't go harder on him, or didn't counter afterwards. He obviously. Yeah.
Let me just see. Yeah, it's he was more or less just confirming what Paul told him about he went downstairs, he went into the basement.
He is one of the key people that interviewed Paul, where Paul was giving extra information and giving information that didn't match the actual facts later.
Yeah.
So it is a documentation of a lot of that, where we
Right.
can pick apart what Paul Caneiro was saying that day, and
Right.
and what may or may not have happened. But as far as credibility, he's a big black mark on the prosecution side. He used AI to prepare himself for the thing and actually submitted it and let it get taken apart. And then he actually admits on the stand that he doesn't know what the heck he's doing. I mean, basically he said, "Oh, I was just there." He said,
Pretty
"Well,
much.
didn't Officer Marino want to lead you to the gas stand? And didn't you find that extraordinary?" He goes, "Well, I wasn't in any hurry. Like, everything was going on. He was talking to Paul." And so he should have said he wasn't. he wasn't very supportive of any of the other officers on the scene. He wasn't very supportive of any of it that's going on. He's just trying to, his whole testimony and everything was doing was protection of him. I mean, he's actually preparing himself with AI because he's afraid of what they're going to ask him. Because the man is not qualified for his job. He's already into, probably got other things going on with personnel and all this other stuff back in 2018. He had moved out of that department and somewhere else by then. You know, I don't even know. Like, he did a little bit of damage there as far as credibility, because Monica Mastellone was able to insinuate that Officer Marino was out of his league. It shouldn't have been leading him to the, like, she's pointing at him going, well, if the fire marshal isn't worried about footprints and gas cans in this other fire, why are you? Basically, wouldn't you say that that's kind of the result of it?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I agree. Yeah. No, I totally agree. And the whole AI thing, she definitely, well, to go back to the point of like, she's trying to attack the credibility of the investigation, that credibility was just destroyed because he didn't really have any after her
But
call.
that's why I think he kept saying, I wasn't there to investigate the incinerary fire. In other words, you can't use what I'm saying about the fire as evidence, because that wasn't my focus. That's not what I was doing, because they did call in an expert, and that's the guy you're going to hear from on why these are purposely set fires. These weren't accidental fires, and they can prove it. And so I think he did have to take the stand just to get that out there, so that the defense couldn't bring him in later and say like he was on the scene and why didn't prosecution bring you forward? I mean, you had information. What are they trying to hide? Like,
that's true. That's true.
Let's take the worst. Let's take the worst part of it and throw it out there so you can pick it apart now, and we'll leave it. I have to mute for 1 second and I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah, sure. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, he was basically he was the foundation, right? He was laying the foundation, and they at least got that out there. But the whole AI thing. So I don't know if you guys watched that particular moment, but Marshall Greg Flanagan. Basically, he wrote this report and then he put that into AI, and he asked AI to ask some questions because he wasn't sure if he was going to be an expert witness or not. And then he put that in the report that he gave that to the state, prosecutors. And he's like, nope, that should have been there. And that was a huge thing that happened that happened on Thursday, day 4. So.
I'm back. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
That's how the days have been going. This is why I've not been live on my channel for the trial during the day. Is so many interruptions. So.
Yeah, no worries. Actually, I think we're kind of winding up. I want to get to some viewer questions, but day 5, let's end. Well, not end. We're going to just kind of wrap it up in a little bit. But what happened with day 5? Do you want to tell us what happened with day 5?
Day 5? We didn't have a day 5.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
We got the whole day to catch up, like in the edit videos and stuff, because a juror was sick, I understand, and so they canceled it. We don't have court on Monday, so we're not back until Tuesday.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to it. And I love your chat. I love popping in.
Thank
to your
you.
Chat. They're so welcoming. You guys are so great over here. You know. And you try to keep it to, good, honest. Nobody's picking, on anybody for different opinions or anything, which I love. It's about the information and watching what the jury sees, and acting like jurors. That's what we're all doing, right? We're trying, right, when you watch a live trial.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. So let's see. Yeah. So I was going to ask you at the end of day 5, which of course didn't happen, as you just said, the juror was sick. Why didn't they just? I mean, you have 4 alternates. Why didn't they just?
Because when you replace an alternative, it's permanent. And somebody shouldn't be penalized for being sick, and they usually give you a 1 shot. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say, get him on Zoom. Just send the person.
And if I was Judge Lameau, don't you think he was looking for a long weekend after dealing with Monica for 4 days? I mean,
he's got Monday off. They have Monday off.
All right, so a 4-day, that's what I mean, 4-day weekend. Like, wouldn't you be like really excited about that if you had 4 days of Monica in,
That's true. All right, so what haven't we heard?
appreciate you, Monica. I'm sorry. It was just too easy. Like, you're really getting
What
under his skin.
she is. What do you think we haven't heard? Like what we've touched upon it a little bit, but in your
We had
opinion,
not
like,
heard so much. There's so much more of it. I just said this on, when I was doing commentary for yesterday. I'm like, we all think we know nothing yet. They
mm-hmm,
didn't say 10 weeks for no reason at all. We
yeah,
know nothing yet. This is
mm-hmm,
just the foundation of the timeline of the morning of.
mm-hmm,
Now, everything that they found the morning of, plus everything they found in the weeks afterwards. Remember, he was
mm-hmm,
only indicted the day after for the arson of his own
mm-hmm,
home. It
mm-hmm,
wasn't until a week plus later that he gets indicted for the arson in Colts Neck and the family annihilation. Okay.
mm-hmm,
And it's not until a year, like almost a year later, that he gets indicted on the fraud and everything like that. So there's so much more. We haven't heard from DNA. We haven't heard from forensics at all. We haven't heard from the information technologies.
mm-hmm,
We haven't heard about, like you said, we haven't heard a peep about GPS. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We
mm-hmm,
haven't heard from information technologies. We don't know what other videos exist. Okay.
mm-hmm, yeah,
We know what the press knew, and that's about it.
right. And the ME, don't forget
And
about
the,
the
and the
ME.
medical and the medical examiner, because that was
Yeah,
public and now it's not. But
yeah. So a lot. Do you think the 10 weeks is like, do you think that's like,
I don't think, as fast as it's going, because Judge Lameau isn't letting it go the direction in some cases that they want it to. And I'm
mm-hmm,
speaking on the defense here. I'm sure if he didn't rein Monica Messalone in on some of these issues, the sidelines would take forever. How
mm-hmm,
many? I could answer that by asking a question.
mm-hmm,
How many side hearings have we had already on whether something's coming in? We've got 4 days of trial, and we've
mm-hmm,
had 2 hearings on evidence
mm-hmm.
that was already discussed in pre-trial. I think that's why he said 10 weeks.
Okay.
I think he knows these attorneys. I
Mm-hmm.
think he knows Monica Messalone.
Yeah. She likes
And
to
I
she likes to cross. She likes to cross and go over and over and over and over. Yeah, she's not going to let any stone
circle
unturned.
talking. Like, didn't we
Mhm.
just hear that? Like, didn't we just
Mhm.
hear that? And that's what he said. Asked when a judge keeps saying to the attorney, asked and answered,
Mhm.
asked and answered. Like,
Mhm.
stop it. You can only
Yeah.
ask a question that way so many times.
Yeah. We've heard this before. Move on. Yeah, he said that a couple times as well. Yep.
And he's going to
Yeah.
keep saying it. And
Yep.
like I said, if she keeps it up, I can imagine if she doesn't pay attention to him, we could see some sanctions. I mean, can you imagine in the middle of this trial, one of them gets thrown in court in
Oh my
the
gosh.
Huscal for contempt overnight? Like,
Wow. I
what?
mean, okay.
Hey, there's a rumor. I wonder if that's what happened to Andy Murray.
He got thrown in jail for
Overnight, and somebody he didn't defend well enough was his son. It was in there for a little bit.
Oh
No,
my.
that's a joke. That's a joke. I know. I'm
It's
sorry.
not, yeah, that's not true. That's a rumor. No, it's not even a rumor. It's just a joke.
It's my horrible Jersey jokiness. Like, sorry.
That's really funny. Yes. Okay. So when I first came into this trial, I'm like, wow, this is crazy. 4 people, beautiful family, not only just, deleted, but then a house on fire, all that stuff. Oh, and then his house is on fire. I'm like, oh my gosh, this trial is going to be just bonkers. And then they
We
start
should.
off with the finances. And I'm like, wait a minute, trials usually start off with 911, first responders. And I'm like, oh, and it kind of slogged for me. Like the Doris Duke, what was Ghoulie, was it Ghoulie
It
Basu?
is
Yeah.
right.
I thought
Mm-hmm.
it kind of slogged a little bit those first day or two, but then
Well, what is
now
the
it's like really
prosecution's
picking up.
job?
What's that? I'm sorry.
What's the prosecution's job? The first thing they have to do is to put out the foundation on why it was possible
Mhm.
that Paul could be guilty of these. What would his intent or motive be? What puts
Right.
him in the mix?
Right.
And clearly the biggest piece of evidence that they have that's concrete in
Mhm.
black and white that nobody can argue against is the financial crimes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right?
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they start with motive, and then now they're getting into the fires, and we just
I
touched
think
upon the bodies.
I think it's very smart of prosecution whenever they start with what is the benefit of this defendant doing this crime? Why
Mhm.
is it possible that they did it? What is the benefit? What is the motive? Why would they do it?
Right.
They got to put in the jury's mind the possibility that he could have, and then they got to prove that he did. But the first step is, could he have done it? Would he have done it? So it's the would he have done it question. If that gets answered yes, the jury is going to be looking. If I was on the jury, and just this is a lay person, it's just an average person, right, Chris? If you're on the jury and they prove already to you that he had benefit here and he could have been capable of it, do you think that changes how you look at the evidence going forward?
Let me think that. I would lean towards it's going to make me think that he is more guilty now that I know what his motive is.
Oh, you're operating on the presumption of innocence.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
going to lean a little bit towards, is it actually possible, instead of like, okay, he's innocent, you got to prove it, because beyond a shadow of a doubt, he's not beyond a shadow of a doubt. You understand that, right? It's like,
yeah.
And that's a hard concept sometimes for juries, and it depends on how the judge actually explains it to you, because he does say, you know, but if there's like beyond the average reasonable person thinks that this actually could have happened and the evidence actually proves it, yes, guilty.
Yeah.
So you are going to look at it a little different. It's very smart of the prosecution.
Yeah.
To do that.
Now I'm seeing that when it first happened the first day, I'm like, wait a minute, who is this? Why are we dealing with all this financial stuff? And it was number after number after number. And I'll admit it got a little, my eyes started to get a little cross. I'm taking notes and I'm just like,
the jury too.
You know,
and that's why I was very happy that the judge kept intervening to make sure that the jury understood certain things about the evidence and make sure it was being explained properly. A lot of judges don't do that, you know.
Yeah.
But
all right, let's get to some of our questions and comments. We kind of talked about this. Pilola's mom, who do you think was knocking on Paul's door and talking outside the house? We talked about that, but do you want to just give another quick little...
I kind of of two minds on that. It could either be first responders themselves. Well, actually, three minds. You got three choices. It's first responders and Heather Cap, as definitive and a great witness as she is, because she's so adamant. You know, maybe it's my paranoid nature, or maybe I watch too much crime TV, but I never believe the person that says absolutely. If you use two terms, absolutely or never, with me, you're totally sus from the start. Like, I'm checking everything, okay? Because those are absolutes that you don't know, okay? So to me, she was a little too solid. Nope, absolutely it's 4:30. Absolute, no way, okay? Also, it could have been just two people out there that just were trying to do the right thing, report the fire, but didn't want to get involved. Yes. Or it's Corey and Paul.
Right.
Setting up the alibi, setting up what they're doing, setting up that the family's being targeted. You know.
I do. I don't know the answer to this question. Pammy's asking, do we know how long Miss Mastalone has been practicing?
Off the top of my head, I can't say, but she's well known. Well known. She had a private practice. She deals with the private attorney's office, because the case that she used, the tier case, was one that they handled in like 2016. Yeah. And she was fully aware of it. She was on that case, and she was actually able to educate the judge on it.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Not actually shocking, because if you're a judge and you're dealing with cases all day, when do you get to go over everything that happens in law for the year in the Supreme Court? Right?
True. But he also said it's the world we live in. You know, both he and the state were like, well, they both shrugged. They're like, it's the world we live in. You know, that
it is
clearly.
But they're right. The Sixth Amendment right for the defense not to actually lead to strategy. Point an example. You're very familiar with the Clenny case, right?
Yes.
Okay, so prosecution got a hold of that email that clearly said this is our strategy for trial. They're not entitled to that information.
Right.
They have to go in blind every time. They don't get to know what the defense is up to. They get to know the witness list, and they have to report documented evidence. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
But they don't have to tell them how they're going to use it or what they're going to say. Like, no.
Right. This is a great question, and I'm not sure if we know the answer. Dream Horse, what happened to Paul's dogs? Do we know what breed they are? We heard them bark. We heard a dog bark at one point on one of the body cams, but do you have any?
Bubble question. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but I'm going to add it to the list. I'm going to try to find out.
Oh, and then Marissa, I think it was Caitlin wanted to go change, and Marissa, I think, took the dogs to a friend's house, but we don't know. I guess I don't know what happened after that. I would assume the girls are still taking care of them if they're still alive. I mean, it's been 7 years, you know. All right. Dream Horse, I know the answer to this, but Claire, if you want to answer it, are the defense lawyers appointed from private practice or are they public defenders?
Both.
Yep.
You have both. Monica Messalone was appointed through the public defender's office. Most counties, indoor states, have a policy to have private practice, and the private practices actually donate a certain amount of hours of public defenders or cases to the court system. So it's both. I know that's probably not the answer you want.
Yeah. Well, they were private to begin with, and we talked about that in our chat, where there was once they were in discovery, they found some conflicts of interest, so they withdrew, and they were saying, they were saying a lot of people said we're quitting, but no, they weren't quitting. They had to withdraw.
They recused, and what enticed me, because I want to find out more about it. We don't know enough about what happened at the police station with those two attorneys, because after the indictment was when they had to recuse. And from what I have been hearing and reading, but I don't have it in a court document, so I don't want to say it's a fact. With me, it has to be black and white by the court before I say absolutely. But what has been reported is that those are the two attorneys that were there representing the Caneiro family from day one. Okay. And Christopher Decker seemed very excited about bringing this issue up. Should Monica Messalone actually want to put any of the Caneiro family on the stand in regards to any of these, because they're going to make an accusation against law enforcement that they pressured them into a statement. He was salivating at the fact that he got to address this issue. So there's something there. There's something, and I want to know what it is. I do. I'm hoping we get to find out, because that's bugging me now. They were definitely, it's a conflict of interest if they were representing him over the arson, and then he got, actually, there might have been information disclosed there and then about things and statements that they gave that makes it a conflict of interest when he got indicted for the murders, because they didn't recruit themselves until then. So
I didn't know that. I didn't know the judge. So I didn't know that law firm was there at the very, very beginning. Even, I mean, at that point, I thought they were there.
That came out in trial. I didn't know it either until they said it.
Okay.
Christopher Decker said they were represented by counsel in the beginning at the police department. I welcome the chance to bring this to the stand.
So it was Ansel, Grimm and Ansel, or right? Was that there? Yeah. Guys. Here, let me. I have it.
That brings you to do. I mean, yes, there's the thing that you should never talk to police without counsel, innocent or not, okay, because things happen. But is it part of the plan that Keith, that Paul made to make sure he definitely, before he gave a statement, had counsel there?
Good question, or good point. Okay,
and why does he all of a sudden think that they think he did it? They haven't told him he did it yet.
No. He's not under suspicion. It's only for the arson. It's only for his.
He is under suspicion. He hasn't been told he's under suspicion
for the murder, or for the arson. For
the arson.
Yeah.
Remember, we're just at Ocean Township Police Department that morning.
Right.
Or that early afternoon, right? No, he's under suspicion, but he's not been clearly told that yet. He's not been Miranda's. He's not been told they're investigating him. They just want the statement because they think the fire's suspicious, but they're not necessarily saying, what did you do?
Right. So this is from March 28th of 2019. It's the firm of Ansel, Grimm, and Aaron. So this was a year, well, not quite a year. It was November 2018 to March 2019. So media release. They released they put out a media release. It was during the review of these materials that at least 2 separate conflicts of interest were discovered, forcing the firm's personnel to step away. Now, Mr. Ansel says, Mitchell Ansel says, we didn't quit. The rules of professional conduct forced us to withdraw, and it's very frustrating. It feels like it's being implied that we just decided not to represent him anymore, and that's just not accurate. As
Right.
lawyers, we have taken an oath where we have to abide by the rules of professional conduct and all that stuff. So that's their release.
Yep. But it does, it just, my ears kind of perked up,
Hmm.
because in my opinion, for Christopher Decker to make those statements that way, did definitely something there, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
that they don't, that may not be beneficial to the defense to have out there. So I think it was like just putting it all out there that I hope you're ready for what you're about to do.
It's a big door. It was a big door that Mr. Decker was definitely looking forward to going through. Um, Terry, trial watcher, asks Claire, "Is there a particular witness that you are looking forward to hearing?"
Anyone from the Caneiro family
Hmm.
themselves, either Paul's wife or daughters and/or Corey. I would
Hmm.
say trying to settle this with Corey about how involved he was with the investigation, what information, how many interviews he did. I would like to hear that to try to satisfy for me myself that they did actually do a preliminary investigation. I do believe they did because of the information they got within the first couple of days. But I
Hmm.
would like the jury to know that too.
Sure. All right. Oh, and Terry's got another question. What's it? I'll read it, and I'm not quite sure we know that this is true or not. But what's the time frame Corey was living in Keith's basement? Defense threw it out, but never put a time frame on when Corey lived with Keith.
I'm
So
not sure, but I do believe it wasn't during that time frame. I do believe it was earlier than 2017. Well, that's another one we should make a list of questions for next Friday that we couldn't answer. We're gonna try to
I
find
know.
out.
And
Yeah.
again, Terry, it's not. Yes, sure. The defense threw it out there, saying, "Hey, were you aware that Corey was living in Keith's basement?" It hasn't been proven. It's just thrown out there. It could be a complete lie. We don't know.
I don't think she would actually do a complete lie. Monica's really good at making something bigger than what it is, but there's something there every time.
Mhm. Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean? I
true.
mean, have you noticed that with her, Monica Messalon? Like,
Yeah.
even though she's stretching like the new clothing thing into their clothing, get for, go,
Mhm.
needed some time. Like she's extrapolating on it and expanding on it. But there's something there. They did ask to go freshen
Mhm.
up and get new clothing.
Right. Right. That's true. You actually answered this, but I just want to pull this up from Mallory. Do we have any footage of him going to turn off the DVR, or does it just shut off?
From my understanding of the clip that I saw, I don't know if that's the one they're going to present. We won't know until they present to the jury exactly what information from the DVR comes out. But
Mhm.
I saw that clip. I
Mhm.
saw that clip. I don't know if it was in the hearing about it or if it was just the media that did it somehow, because sometimes the reason this is so tight, like sometimes things get leaked. We've seen things get leaked to the media that are all over the place and it
Mhm.
never gets presented in court. That happened with Johnny Depp. We saw
Mhm.
more evidence that ever got represented. It's happened in several things in the Idaho case. Even we saw stuff
Mhm.
in the beginning that never really came to light.
Mhm.
Well, there wasn't a trial, obviously, so we don't know
Right.
exactly. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
I
stuff gets
do.
leaked that shouldn't be out there, or it
Sure.
found its way out there, uh,
Mhm.
either accidentally on purpose. Sometimes prosecution teams do this themselves.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
but I saw that clip. I saw, and they have, besides actually what I believe I actually saw is how they reference the DVR clip and how
Mhm.
they reference how important it is and what they said in the hearing about it showing that he turned that off himself and that he was there
Mhm.
turning it off. I
That'll be
short
that'll be
on
huge. Yeah.
why does an innocent man have to turn his DVR off several minutes before his house burns down? Why does
Yeah.
an innocent man have to do something like that?
That'll be really big. That'll be huge. That'll be huge in my opinion. If that's, and you said you've seen this, you have seen this?
I believe I saw that. I'm gonna have to look because I would have
Okay.
kept it if I saw
Okay.
it. I'm gonna go back through all of my files. I
All
don't
right.
know if it was in the hearing about this before it actually got excluded. Well, before Limo excluded it, they had a hearing on this evidence,
Mhm.
and it was going back and forth in motions. And
Yeah.
I have to double check on that. But yeah, they say it shows him turning it off. It's
All
been
right.
stated in filings. I know I saw that in the
That
hearing.
yeah, that'll be big. That'll be huge. Lily Wayne, but then wasn't Corey on the front lawn at the fire? Yes.
No,
Where did he come from? Well, we kind of talked about that, but clearly Paul called him, or he just shows up. I'm thinking probably Paul called him and said, "Hey, my house is on fire," and Corey came over. So,
can you clarify me? Who is it just Monica saying that that happened, or is there actually an officer that
oh
confirmed?
no, there was an officer off, one of the first
One second,
responders.
I'm gonna go revert that about. Was it Bernhardt? I don't know. Like
Hold
I
on.
don't remember. But they actually saw an exchange of money. Like
Yes, yeah, it was. It must have been
yeah, he
Sorrento,
was on his
maybe.
way to Pennsylvania.
Maybe it was Sorrento, Christopher Sorrento. He was a first responder.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay, I'll
Mezzacula, Mezzacula. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Okay, I've been spelling Corey's name two different ways.
I think it's EY actually, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
I do the same thing.
All right, I can't find it specifically, but it was definitely one of the first responders. When they pulled up, they saw, I don't remember exactly who, but they when they pulled up, they saw Corey with Paul, and that they exchanged money. So we'll save that for. I don't want to spend too much time looking for it, but yeah, that's my recollection, because I was like, oh, that was interesting. So where did Corey come from? I would think he got called by Paul. Must have called him.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
He's either, Corey is a big question still. It's still early in the trial. It's a big question on how much, he's going to come through. Day two, some of the financial, they said that Debbie Bassender mentioned Corey. Like I'm looking at like when was he mentioned? But
let's see,
I don't
here.
see.
Maybe if I look up money.
Yeah.
I have 33 instances of money. All right, let's see here. Just bear with us for a moment, chat. We're going to try and find this.
You have to actually limit it to the house fire.
Okay, I have it. Lieutenant.
House fire.
I got it. Christopher Brady, Lieutenant Brady. Corey gave Paul some money. That's what I have right there.
Okay.
That was under direct. So, but Brady didn't show up. Oh no, wait. Let's see.
Brady is the last witness. Day 4, the end of the morning and the beginning of the afternoon, right?
End of the yes, yeah. So I have okay. So he arrived. Okay, the call came in. He went to the scene. Yeah, he said that he saw Corey give Paul some money. So it came from him, from his testimony. Yeah, he's before lunch, and then continues after lunch. Cross started right. Then they took lunch. Oh, he's the one that she was saying the shopping center, was close by. Why didn't you?
Right.
So
how many houses did he check? And
yeah, so he's that witness. So all right. So it came in from direct testimony that Corey was there.
Yeah.
That morning. So so all right.
He said he briefly saw him outside the home.
Briefly saw him. Okay. Yeah, but where? Yeah, well, see, that's why Lily Wayne. Where was Corey when he got Paul's call about the fire? That's a great question. That's a great question. That's why we need to hear from Corey. Get him up on the stand.
Well, I think the only reason the defense is bringing it up is they want to see some knowledge or involvement with Paul, not that Paul, everything that's going on is not independent to Paul.
Mhm.
That evidence there doesn't really, like him being there, doesn't actually make him, it makes him complicit, but it doesn't make Paul innocent. It
Mhm.
actually, in a way, is damaging to Paul also, saying there's some foreknowledge and coordination with the two of them about what's going on. And
Mhm.
that would lead to premeditation.
Mhm. Yeah. Yep. I would love to hear from Corey, like you were saying, or someone asked, Chad asked, what witness would you want to see? And yeah, I would agree. I'm looking forward. As I always do, I said this before, the medical examiner, as tough as it is, I always find that helps me understand the last moments, and it answers a lot of questions for me. Like Keith was only shot in the back. He wasn't shot in the front. So um, and there was a struggle, perhaps. Did he have bruising on his face? Was there, was he in a fist fight first, or did he just get lured outside with the generator going out and then got shot in the back? I think that'll tell a lot. And then
But
Jennifer, how were they stabbed? All that stuff.
yeah, sometimes they have what, a like someone who does a crime scene reenactment, like,
Hmm.
just puts it out, how he actually did that. But they
Hmm.
usually only do that if they have enough evidence for all the key points.
True.
One of the bones of contentions that comes up is the knife that they found. They didn't find it with Paul's belongings in Ocean Township. It was
Mm-hmm.
still in Colts Neck.
Mm. Was it on the? Oh, so it was at Keith's house. It was found in
Yeah,
the
it
house.
was in Keith's mansion. Yes, it was still
Oh,
on
okay.
premises.
Okay. Okay. Huh.
However, I mean, there's the gun with the barrel removed and put in two
Mm.
different places, which also shows premeditation to try to hide something.
Right.
And,
So
and
that's
here's the
that.
thing, let me ask
Yeah.
you, if somebody is
Sure.
setting Paul Caneiro up,
Yeah.
they have access to a lot of stuff, don't they?
They
His
do.
safe,
They
his
they do.
locked garage, his DVR, his
Yep.
like his
His
bank account passwords. Like, if Paul
yeah.
Canero is being set up, if it's really Corey, then
Mhm.
Corey and Paul did it together. There's no way Corey did it on his own.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, there was a locker in his basement, in Paul's basement, that they found, I think ammo, and I think maybe
Right,
the
right.
9
Lock
millimeter
safe.
might have been found in there. Yeah.
It was locked. Yes. So,
Yeah.
I mean, then whoever is setting Paul up has a lot of access, and like, you know,
Mhm.
I don't, I don't know if Paul would give people that kind of access, knowing
Right.
what he does, like a possible extramarital affair,
Mhm.
stealing money from your brother. Doesn't sound like the kind of guy who's very trusting, knowing that he's possible of doing that. You usually
Mhm.
tend to not trust others. If you're capable of it, then they're out to get me too, right? They'll do it to me. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. No, that's a great point. Like if they, somebody else is out there trying to get us, a large organization, if you will. Um, would they really, like you said, do they have access to all of that? It sounds like it sounds pretty far fetched when you kind of break it down. You know.
It does. When they keep focusing on, well, why didn't you check this and why didn't you check that? He's like, sometimes a duck is a duck.
Hmm.
It looks like a duck,
Yep.
it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck. It's a duck. And so
It's a
why
duck.
am I gonna be going looking for a mouse when I got the duck?
Right. Right. So, all right. I think
That
we're
was a lot.
pretty
That was
good.
fun.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
week 1, and it was only 4 days. We didn't even have day 5.
And what were the questions we still have to answer for next week? Corey in the basement when? Did he actually get his disability? Has he actually faced any other repercussions on his disability issue yet? Oh, okay. And there was another one, and I can't remember what it was. Do you?
I don't recall right now. My head is swimming.
If you do, message me because I want to try
Okay.
to find answers for them for Friday. Because if it's available,
All right.
uh,
Yeah, I can't. I can't. Yeah, can't think of it right now. My head is just my head's swimming right now.
yeah.
Um, all right. Yes, Barry saying that was a lot. Thank you, Claire, for being here to recap these things with us at the end of a week.
Oh, it's my pleasure. This is fun. I live and breathe this stuff. Like this. This was a real treat for me. So thank you, Chris. Like this is
Sure.
great. Yeah.
All right, chat.
I
Be
love
sure.
hearing what they have to say, don't you? Like everybody in the chat. I
Oh,
love the
absolutely.
comments and I love hearing what they have to say and how people's minds are looking at this and how they're actually taking in all the information too. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Chad, if you haven't subscribed to Claire's channel, please do so. It's right there. I have it pulled up there.
thank you so much, Chris.
So, sure. You're welcome. And I'm looking forward to next Friday and seeing you in chat. And always, we'll definitely go over and check out your videos because I haven't watched them all, but I watched the opening
You know,
statements and I
the
watched
only
the,
extra you're going to get is me just talking about it because it's exactly what you're doing. It's like almost everything that I said over here in your chat too. So
oh, well, we'll give you the eyeballs. We'll give you the views over there
I
too.
appreciate it 'cause I do. Also, if you have any recommendations too, because feedback. I don't know about you, but feedback is the best thing that we can get.
Mhm.
To make sure that we're all getting the message out that we really want to get out, and it's being perceived the way that we want it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, I will say thank you and have a good evening, good weekend. And Monday is off, right?
Hmm.
No trial on Monday.
What are
So,
you covering Monday instead?
well, we were going to do our Sean Higgins, but because today was off, we did Sean Higgins. We'll probably do Ian Mitchum or Ian Mitchum. We've kind of been following that out of Nevada. We might do that, or an Ego Takes the Stand. We might do an Ego Takes the Stand. So we're not quite sure which one we're going to do yet. So
An eagle takes the stand. What is?
ego, ego, the
Oh, an
ego.
ego.
Ego,
Oh,
yes. Yeah, no, we have this whole series going. I think we've done like 16 episodes last year where it's the defendants take the stand in their own defense and it usually goes sideways within,
like
two or
Murdoch is
yep.
like not
Yeah.
like
We've done Robert Tellis, Sarah Boone, Ashley
yes.
Benefield, Trevor Summers, Ali Abulaban, Charlie Adelson. Yeah, so you get the idea. You get
I
the idea.
wonder if Paul Caneiro will be part of your series by the
I
end of the
hope
year.
so. I hope
S-
so. I
So
hope
do
so.
I.
Yeah,
But
I
then
think
again,
that
when I watch him in court, I don't know if I want him to. Yeah.
really? Why? Why not?
You don't think a man with all of this on his head is a little too composed in there?
Well, we watched Chandler Halderson, and he said afterward he was like stone, but then afterwards, I think his allocution for sentencing, he said, "My defense attorney told me not to show emotion." So I'm sure he's been
The
told, "Don't
emotion
show
that he
emotion."
does choose, like when the mask slips a little bit, if you notice, and I've been paying attention, when
Hmm.
he's listening to them at the bench, when he's got the headphones on, okay,
Hmm.
or when he's talking with his attorney. We saw in pretrial hearings, did you notice how jokey and laughy he was with his
Hmm.
attorneys? So, like,
Yep.
I know that this is pretty much he's just being stoic. And those tears, I didn't
Hmm.
believe those tears, not 1 second, because he
Yeah.
doesn't flinch anytime they mention the children after that. But
Hmm.
during opening, all of a sudden, it was so upsetting for him, and I'm like,
Right. Right.
I don't
We
even
see that
offer
a
that.
lot, though. Yeah, you see that a
Well,
lot.
watch him taking notes. Watch him instructing his attorney.
Hmm.
He's very
Hmm.
involved in this case.
He
This
is.
thing with the daughter, that came from Paul Caneiro.
With what? With what?
The thing with the daughter saying
Oh,
they
daughters. Yeah.
enticed my statement, that came
Hmm.
from the daughter. I believe, in my
Hmm.
humble opinion. I don't want to say that that's a fact, but I watched him talking with Monica and how aggressive he was with getting her attention and making sure, and then and yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's more involved.
Right. Well, the week ended with it was definitely. I feel like it's a train. It took, or you know what? I liken it to like a roller coaster where
Mhm.
you're sitting and you're like chugga 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 chugga, and then now I think we're just kind of starting to get to the top because the more information that's coming out, the more I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. Ooh, that's interesting. And then getting together with you and hearing some other stuff that that you're seeing being locally and having followed this for so long. I'm definitely fully invested. I was at the beginning. And like I said, the first day I was just like, it was just a lot of numbers. And again, my eyes started to get
Don't you
crossed,
bet that's
you
over
know.
with now? You don't have to do that again.
I know. I just hope they don't call more financial experts. I hope we're done with the financial
Nope, there
experts.
was only one. She was the one, and she like they
Okay.
actually. I found interesting they had to make her an expert through that little back and forth in the beginning before she could even testify.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, it was
yeah,
yeah,
because she
interesting.
actually works for the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office in financial crimes.
Mhm.
Okay, but she's got strong banking and IRS background, and this is what she does every day. And so
Mhm.
if you're an expert, you get to expand on what you found out. You don't have to just talk about the numbers and the facts and like, here's the bank statement. Yes, that's
Mhm.
what that says. You
Mhm.
get to actually speculate about the crime,
Mhm.
which was necessary here.
Yeah. I think she said this is the first time she testified in trial.
She didn't want to talk about the first time she actually did because I think it
Oh,
was an internal investigation, and some people I saw commenting on my video were saying, "Oh, does that mean that it was another thing against Paul Caneiro?" And I said, "No, not necessarily, but it
okay.
was something internally within the prosecutor's office, and she didn't want to give details." She really hedged on that.
Right, right.
She was part of the support team, and she did have to give a statement, but that doesn't mean like she testified.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So, all right. All right. Do you have any last words before we let you go? What you're looking for? Well, we kind of talked about what you're looking forward to, but what?
Like I said, if we think we know, we absolutely don't, because like
Mhm.
it's only day 4. We're
Yeah.
going to March 20th. Um, if we've already had I mean, for all the boring testimony that there was, which come on, law enforcement testimony can be pretty boring, and so can financial
Hmm.
on the scene and this and that. And watching those videos was rough because the sound is bad and you don't know what they're
Hmm.
talking
Right.
about. We're doing that for 4 days. Just
Hmm.
imagine what's coming.
Yeah.
Just like all the back and forth with these attorneys. These attorneys had no problem challenging each other, and they have a judge who's not going to let them, get anything too out of bounds. Just the interactions on those 3 alone, I'm really
Hmm.
looking forward to.
Yeah, no, I am. The more I'm getting involved in this, the more, like I said, that I was excited to cover it at the beginning, and now that I've gotten through this first week, and I can definitely see things are starting to ratchet up. I'm understanding the judge a lot better. I'm understanding the prosecution, the defense. Um, I am fully engaged. I am really looking forward to next week and the next 8 to 9 weeks, and
You
definitely
know what I
looking
was
forward.
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say we should have a wild meter and see how it changes from week to week. Um, like, were you really surprised at where things went or whatever? Because I actually
Oh,
think our opinions are greatly going to change by the end of it, because that's very calming on a
yeah,
lot of it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. Well, I do put polls out, so I'll do a poll. I did a poll for Corey. Like right now, where do you stand with Corey and his level of guilt, but or innocence? So on Tuesday, I'll say, okay, right now, because I like to do this a lot. Right now, where do you stand? Would you vote guilty or not guilty? And a lot of people in chat are like, oh, I have to wait till the end and all that stuff. And I get it.
A
I trust me.
They
I get
should.
it.
If you're looking at it as a juror, you shouldn't
Yeah.
have an opinion at this point. So I
Yeah.
actually admire people who say that, because they're
Yeah.
really focused on what the jury's hearing, and
Yeah.
the jury is innocent until proven guilty, and, I have to
I
wait
know.
for all of it, you
I
know?
know, but I still like to find out. It's like a temperature check. Like just from
Well,
what you know
so
right now,
exactly.
where would
Yeah,
you land? So
yeah.
I like to know, even though I understand that a lot of people are like, no, 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 I
So
have to wait.
then what do you
So
think? Before
um,
this will be our last question, then I'll be quiet.
what do I think? Right now, I see him as being guilty. I don't see how this was done by an outside person. I think, if anything, if my doubt comes in, it would be he had help. That would be my only doubt. But I think that he did
I
it.
have to admit, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So
I I am leaning towards guilty. I can't see anyone else who would benefit as greatly as him. I
yeah.
think they have the evidence. Whether or not they can, I always say it this way: I'm leaning towards guilty. Whether they can prove it or not is another story.
That is true. That's then that's exactly where I land. And or if the defense can throw enough, doubt in there of where I'm like, ooh, wait a minute, okay, yeah, of course I'm going to change my mind. I'm not like staunch, or I'm like he's guilty, that's it, or he's not guilty, that's it. I'm saying right now, from just what I know from opening statements, from all the pretrial stuff we've done, from the evidence that we've seen so far, I'm like, wow, that's a tall hill for the defense to climb.
It is, and I
You
think
know,
Judge Lamo already put a cold bucket of water on it by saying you can't just make accusations. You're going to have evidence for everything you say, and all of a
yeah.
sudden things get shut down. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Barry, I think you said this in our chat too. Is Corey the Wendy unindicted co-conspirator or conspirator after the fact? Yeah. It's possible.
Usually, if there's an unindicted co-conspirator, it's mentioned in the indictments.
Mhm.
Some hint of it is in there.
Yeah.
And everything that we can find in black and white is Paul, Paul, Paul. No mention
Right.
of any help from anyone. So,
Right.
unless
Yeah.
it's just an investigation still, and they'll finalize it up later. But he's
Yeah.
not an unindicted co-conspirator, because that would definitely be mentioned.
Yeah. That's the only thing for me right now is that did Paul act alone or not? Because I like you said, I don't see how the motive wouldn't be there for somebody other than Paul. Paul would benefit immensely. Corey would benefit. Corey did
But
benefit
how
immensely.
horrible would that be if it was both of them and they were, I mean, it's bad enough you think one could commit such a horrible crime for
Mhm.
greed and desperation. But
Mhm.
two of them working together to annihilate a whole family?
Mhm. Oh, it's
Like,
terrible. It's absolutely horrific.
I mean, that's
Horrific.
like, I'm thinking, wow, now there's two of them out there that could do that and then
Mhm.
meet together at his house like nothing's going on. Here's some money and I'll see you. I'm taking my kids to Pennsylvania. You know,
Mhm. Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
I'm like, wow, that would blow my mind. You know, on the one hand, I really hope that's not true.
They're the two that would benefit, because if somebody else did it, what benefit is it to them? There's, because if Keith owed money to some organization or somebody, not even an organization, but
There's
somebody,
not been a peep about Keith owning any kind of gambling debts or.
he's no longer around, so he can't pay back. When you're no longer around, you can't pay back your dets, so
Well,
were
that's
they
my
spending?
point. Them saying that for that reason, hey,
Yeah,
no, 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 because
right.
they don't annihilate whole families if they're trying to get money.
Exactly. And then if they're sending a message, who are they sending that message to?
Paul, he doesn't have any money.
I know, right?
Like,
So
yeah,
that's
he's
what I'm
in
saying.
debt up to his eyeballs. Corey's in debt up to his eyeballs.
Yeah. So when you kind of break it down like that, then everything is pointing back to Paul right now. Right now, everything's pointing to Paul. So, all right, that's where I land. So, all righty. Wow, this is great. We started at 4. It's almost 7. Fantastic. You
Oh
remember
wow!
you
I
asked me how
warned
long
you.
am I?
Jersey comes with the flailing hands and the flapping lips.
Oh, the hands are going all over. Talk with my hands.
It's just like I can talk about anything. If you check out the differences in all the stuff I do on my channel, you definitely see that.
Right. Jane says Corey's sitting at home saying, keep my name out of your mouth.
Yeah, stop talking about me. I got nothing to do with this.
I know.
It'll give him a great defense if he does go on trial that he was tried in the media. And then
Yeah.
and I are
And
going to have to go in there and defend ourselves on why we said certain things.
It's my sole intent to stay out of emotion. I don't want to be emotion. I don't want to be part of a trial.
Oh, heck, Jersey gets a bad rap. It's not a bad place to visit.
Well, I spent 13, 14 years in New York City, and then a couple years
so we're
up
like
in Woodstock. So
here.
I know Jersey. I spent time in Jersey. I know Jersey. So, all right, cool. All right, Claire, thank you again. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much too.
Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you Tuesday, hopefully in chat, and if not, then next Friday.
All right, everybody have a great weekend. Thank you, Chris.
Sure, thank you. Bye. All right, you guys, we're gonna wrap it up here and say goodnight to you. It's Friday here on the East Coast, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you to our mods. Thank you to Aaron. And thank you to Claire for coming on and giving us your insights and your knowledge. It was great. It was a lot of fun. So let's see. We will be, so Monday, there's no live court as far as I know. Well, certainly not Jersey versus Paul Caneiro. So we'll either do an Ego takes the stand, or we'll pick back up on Ian Mitchum out of North Nevada, Las Vegas. So Aaron and I will talk about that. So, all right. With that, I will say goodnight and take care of yourselves and have a good weekend. Bye.